This WAFLW live stream is brought to you by Optus, proud partner of the Waffle and WAFLW. The West Coast Eagles, supporting WA female footballers to follow their dreams. Kia, proud partner of the WAFLW. This is Kia. Simply Energy, supporting WA Footy's talent pathway.
It's a very wintry day here in Perth. Strong breeze and chance of some rain coming as well on preliminary final day here at Steel Blue Oval. Swan Districts and Subiaco one step away from the grand final. The winner to take on Peel Thunder in next week's decider down at David Gray's Arena. It's a bizarre day again here in Perth. COVID restrictions coming into play at 12 o'clock today, so no spectators inside Steel Blue Oval. Masks are on for people who are able to sneak into the ground to do official rolls around the place, but that won't worry these two sides too much at all. Both teams have been losers on this day at various stages in the past couple of seasons as well. Neither team have won a WAFLW premiership as yet, so both pretty keen to make sure that they sneak through to the grand final next week and have a crack at the defending champs, Peel Thunder. Subiaco in outstanding form in recent weeks. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. Their only loss was a 1-point loss to Swan Districts. Meanwhile, there's been a few hiccups from Swannies, a couple of losses to Peel, one late in the season, and then a heartbreaker last week by 5 points when they couldn't quite find the major opening at any stage in the afternoon. Conditions not too bad at the moment despite that breeze. There might be a bit of rain around, but the radar looks okay for the next hour or so. So let's hope that it stays fairly dry for the two sides out there here this afternoon. So much on the line for Subiaco and Swan Districts. Peel watching on with interest as well. We'll be back with the rest of our commentary team and all the action in just a moment.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
Rule 1. No internet searching.
New Optus Pause puts the Optus Living Network in your hands. It allows you to pause your Optus mobile and home Wi-Fi connections with one touch. Because sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
What can be broken but can't be held?
It starts with yes.
Both teams in their preparations. One of the key players out there, Bianca Webb for Swan Districts. She'll have a massive role to play for the Black and Whites if they are to bounce back from their defeat last week when they now take on Subiaco. Preliminary final day here in the WAFLW. Peel Thunder sit, wait and watch, and the winner from today get a crack at knocking off the reigning champs as they look to defend their title. Dave Lindsay alongside Clint Degebrot and also Jenny Wallace. Welcome, guys, as we look at Jamie Harkin, who's been a key cog in defence for Subiaco this year.
And beyond.
Yeah, look, one of the leadership group for Subi at the start of the year got voted in, and I think she's played every game this season so far, and she just controls the back line for them. Going to be very important, her role today against the Swans.
We just had Joe Taylor sneak into the box as well. It's her fault, Dex, that 400 people were kicked out at 11:58 today, which is a real shame. Would have been a huge crowd here, particularly with the weather, the way that it's actually improving at the moment. Steph Kane, probably on a wing or through the midfield at least for Swans, will be a very important player for Swans today.
Brenna High too, very important. Also, photos in the centre of the ground being taken with either captain and the Yumps. But very important player, as you said, Steffi Kane. Tried to get off the chain last week, but the conditions just didn't quite support her as well as she wanted to, Jen.
Yeah, whereas today, with the fingers crossed that the rain stays away, we've got the sun sort of coming over nicely now that might actually play into the strengths of Swan, especially Steph Kane and her pace.
On debut, Madison Dodd. She's making her debut as a 16-year-old. She's been involved in the WA State Academy since she's 13, and she's out there on prelim day. And you can see Claire Ortlep just making sure she's okay. Just be you, young lady. Don't need to turn into Wonder Woman. What a great story. Kia Buckley also comes back in, Jen, with one of the players from last week going out.
Yeah, so Lara Filcamo's out, which is where Dodd is making her debut in that place. And I think it's a good like-for-like replacement, someone who's strong over the ball, good centre of gravity and keeps her feet well. So that's the change there, and such an exciting moment for someone who's the co-captain of the Rogers team for Subi to make her debut. And Buckley back, a really good contested player, and that brings another strength into the forward line for Subiaco.
Overhead. Very good overhead too.
And so brings it down if she doesn't clean it. Yep.
Maddie Dodd impressed us in the State 17s games that we broadcast down at Fremantle's headquarters at Coburn, and what an opportunity to come in for preliminary final day to make your debut and potentially move yourself into a grand final. Big smile on the face of Sarah Lakay at the back of the group there, number 33, one of the rucks in the Swans squad. Both of these teams, Jen, always keen to try to relax their players before the start of a match or even a quarter. We've seen Swans dancing at the breaks at various times, and you could see before with Claire Ortlep just walking across to young Dodd and putting her arm around her and saying, good luck, have fun, this will be good.
Yeah, definitely. Just trying to keep that enjoyment of your footy. There's a reason you started wanting to become a football player. You just love the game, and I think both of these teams play better when that's at forefront of their players' minds.
And Maguire, who has played every game that Swan Districts have played since this competition became the WAFLW, and actually snuck forward a little bit late in the game last week as well, Degs. So it'll be interesting to see. You would imagine she'll start back for Swan.
She is. She's heading back now. You saw her on screen point both ways, but I think she was saying they're going this way, we're going that way. She's heading to the back line, as you can see. Some famous backs there too in Gelmy and Ralph. Very solid unit, and very good across this year, Jamie Henry, and also Mel Hardy been very good. 21 on screen. Maggie McLaughlin, the Fremantle Docker, who I think has signed on for season 2022. A very important player today. Highly skilled, long kicking, and she's as fit as she's ever been.
So she's heading out towards a wing, and more than likely would line up on one of the hides, I imagine, out there, or maybe Tara Stribley.
She's actually got a little hide clone in Stribley.
So Tara Stribley just shielding her eyes from the sun.
McLaughlin, the two hide girls, and Tara Stribley, very, very good friends. Virtually grew up together, played a lot of football together. So that'll be an interesting match out there. I'd suggest that that would have been a g'day, and I'll catch you at the end of the game from those two wingers on the far side.
Huge match-up in the middle as well, Jen. You can see on the far side of the centre circle, Bianca Webb standing alongside Hayley Miller, and that pair will have a big say in deciding the outcome of today's game. Sarah Lakay gets us underway with a big fist forward. That'll please her coach in Bo McDonald from the State 19s program. Nicely done by East, getting across to a teammate, and Swans are inside 50. Bella Edgley, good to see her back out there after a terrible hand injury earlier in the year. Stribley straightens up and kicks high towards full forward. Deep is Wilstra, couldn't quite reel that one in, and it trickles over the line, and Swans have a behind inside the first minute.
He managed to collect a series of behinds last week. Took more scoring shots than Peel, but got him through the narrow sides of, or either side of the goals last week. So before first forward 50 entry, I wonder if the handball was on there from Eastern, not the drive forward after the big tap from Lakay. Ortlep plays on sneakily, kicks okay, goes through the hands on the far side, ends up with Webb. Little violin handball over towards Stribley, didn't favour her too much. Webb's back into battle it now. It's Maggie McLaughlin, she's 3v1 out there. Bangelon will do for Jess Cox. She picks up, tries to charge through. She's held up by a very fit-looking Hayley Miller on the far side of the ground. Rumour has it, she gave up bread. She's eating steaks and exercising by the look of her. She's in great nick. It's her again breaking away. She gets the kick on the far side of the ground, really hugging that boundary. McLaughlin decides to keep it into the end. No one's advantage in particular. Coming in and fixing this up, it's Jess Ritchie. Handball was good. First furrow forward towards Hunt for Subiaco. Hunt works her opponent off the ball, but in the end can't get her handball away. She's assisted by Golisano, the skipper. Bumped off the footy on the far side. Wonderful work by Ralph. It's Henry getting in and under. A couple of handballs to East. running away towards the centre of the ground, standing her ground very nicely. The Subiaco player in Thorogood, and she's held up nicely by the Swannies.
Thorogood, another player for Subi that's played all year, extremely fit member of the squad. She'll have a big job today.
Yeah, 5 lines have played every game this season. Bianca Webb for Swan Districts gets the clearance towards half forward. Michaela Hyde from behind almost took the mark. The recovery was good and then kicks to a good position. Edgeley marking just outside the 50. Webb's breaking inside the arc. Takes that grab, one over the top now for Anderson. And Swans have been able to engineer the loose player. Anderson doesn't miss these too often. And she gives Swans the first goal. And it's been a strong start for Swans, probably kicking into the breeze in this first quarter, Jen, and that's outstanding start from the Black and Whites, particularly given that they couldn't kick a goal last week, all those behinds. There would have been some nervous moments in front of goals for anyone lining up early today.
Yeah, the fact that their first opportunity here they've taken, that's going to mean that last week's Demons are completely squashed already, and they're on and they're away. The dangerous signs for them was they were able to find a number freely there. Webb got free, and then she was able to go across the top to Anderson, who then just too skilled and finishes it off through the middle. So an excellent start to Swans. Worrying for Subi that the Swans are already able to find those extra numbers up forward. Probably
the run of Webb there, Degs, just created the outnumber, and the defenders had to push forward, which opens one up over the back.
Little turnover too from Subi. It allowed them just to be pulled apart a little bit. Mackenzie Darrick in the middle. It's great to see her back. She provides some strength for Subiaco throughout this game. Tap from Lakay, finds with Miller. No one can find the handle. Lakay goes in and wins it again to East. Lakay is deemed to have thrown that up a little bit. Or was it indeed East? Golisano with a free kick, and she looks to connect with Miller. This is a great inside-outside play from Hayley Miller. Winning at the ball at the coalface, then spreading quickly. The kick's okay. A little reached hand out there didn't quite work for Subiaco. Mackenzie Darrick gets to her left foot, pulls it around that corner. Oh, it's just a bit too strong. Swans would now turn up with Hunt on Henry. Ralph working away in Cox. Lending a hand for the midfield. Hardy, good release. Cox just a bit low. Kia Buckley crashing in, causing an issue. Little handball's okay too. The kick doesn't have the desired effect. It's just rolling towards the line on the far side and eventually trickle over. It was good play from Hyder. Just didn't quite get the turn on that one she wanted.
Strong from Buckley in the contest there, wasn't she? Really just get rid of her defender.
Should have had time to say, Jen, you called that that's what would happen. She's done it straight away.
Jess Cox is not an easy player to move off the football either, but she knocked her well and truly out of the action. East, a hand pass, searching for Cox again there. East goes back and wins it once more at ground level. Lakay gets down low, squeezes a little kick forward. Golisano, just slipping. Still a little bit of dampness on the top of this surface, despite the fact the sun is now shining. As Cowie gets Subiaco back to a dangerous spot. A couple of Swans collide. Great pressure from Ralph. Might have almost saved a goal there with that tackle, and then managed to throw herself on top of the football. And now Henry with a bit of support as well. It's desperate times, not surprising. Preliminary final. There's no tomorrow for the loser today. Peel Thunder, having defeated Swans last week, will get to play the home grand final next week as well, after they were successful with the bids. Nice movement from defence from Cox towards Bree Hyde. Didn't quite take the mark, and as a result forced to kick quickly. Golisano setting up nicely behind the football. Has Richie inside at centre half forward, but she's not looking in that direction. Not sure Richie realised how much space she had. Perhaps didn't give her a loud enough call. This kick towards the hot spot, but Kane getting back as the winger to help out and mark between fullback and centre half back.
In the perfect spot to support her defenders, and the kick's good. It spreads wide. Harkin coming up from Subi. Edgeley gets it off the ground towards Anderson. Very clever play because Harkin's terrific one-on-one. Anderson steps inside. That's nifty. Pulls the ball up towards Wellstra. Comes at the ball, goes through her hands. Good pressure from Walker. Off the ground again. Could be okay to Hyde. Hyde's within scoring distance. There's no one ahead. Hyde's actually, just letting the umpire know that about 5 players ran through the mark. The kick to her sister's nice. It's really asked the question. Wellstra goes through to Walker. Walker puts her hands on it. Wellstra, a little toe poke, was deemed to be in danger. And Walker, who does try to play on quickly. Luckily, there was no one ahead of the play there for her to go to. If she had it broken in that direction. She's broken that direction. Duke's back. Long down the line. Mackenzie Darrick generally good overhead, and the kick favours her nicely. She's able to take this on the chest against Chloe Taylor. Constructing their exit nicely, Subiaco. Found a player in the middle. Hits her on the chest is nice. That's Wilkins. Wilkins sort of plays on accidentally, but in the end, nice little step. Gets rid of Sarah Lakay. The searching kick's a good one. Coming in front to support Gelmy. So chop off is Gelmy. Nearly did enough towards her opponent, Subiaco. Coming through there is Brown. Talisha kicks the ball nicely towards Henry. Traps the ball. Got a big job on Hunt. Hunt's very dangerous deep. Just waits the ball. Rust nicely to bring Brown back into the game again. It's in the hands of Call It. Call It runs it along the ground and she's kicked a goal. Wonderful play, Hayley Call It. A couple of excellent efforts ahead of the play from Subiaco just to manufacture something forward. And in the end, Call It kicks the first for Subiaco and it's 1-1-7. Swan District. Subiaco Lions with the one. Just in replay here. That is Talisha Brown.
Yeah, Brown crashed through, didn't she? Showed pace, able to pick it up cleanly and followed up the work where it went forward. She connected with Rust. Rust was able to find her again and then getting forward to Call It, who Call It so far this season, I don't think she's missed in front of goal. So she's now 6 majors, no behinds.
And she's playing, she generally plays up on a wing in a connecting role. We were really impressed with her a couple of weeks ago against East Fremantle. It really did have an impact in that game, and that was lovely play. Brown twice in that, 2 efforts in that goal.
Been a bright start to the game. Both sides getting on the board early. Getting caught there for Swans was Chloe Taylor, who's just come on the ground. Here comes Miller. Special comments there from D. Margetts next door, just advising one of the trainers to make sure they're doing the right thing. Here's Hyde. Michaela caught in a good tackle. That'll be holding the ball. The throw, in fact, the umpire signalled. Thorogood will get the free kick at centre half back.
It's going to be a good contest, I think, Thorogood and Hyde today.
Squares the kick up to Harkin. Subi and Swans have met 3 times this year, and Subi have got closer each time. Swans have won all 3 by 36 points, 8 points and 1 point. And we called that game a few weeks ago when it went right to the wire, the 1 point result. Golisano to the wing, could carry on the kick. Ritchie at the back, couldn't quite take it. Edwards over the football as well. Brown, who, as Dex mentioned, already had an impact, having just come off the bench. Golisano getting busy early as well. Gives it off towards Birchall. Kick goes nowhere. Edwards out the back door. Bree Hyde. Just knocked off the footy there by Wilkins. Comes back with a good tackle and they fight a draw. Swans and Subi head to head since WAFLW started. 5-3 in Swans' favour. They did meet in a prelim final a couple of years ago and Swans tore Subi apart on that day by 45 points. Spot in the grand final available to the winner here today. Birchall a little fumble. Gives Gilmy a chance, probably held without the football, not paid. Wilstra pops the hand pass out in front of Taylor. Needs to be clean, can't pick it up. Little toe poke was clever though. Nice ground ball pick up there from Michaela Hyde. Has Bushby running past, ignores that and kicks longer. Walker's been turned around here, has to give chase. It continues to run all the way to the goal square. She can rush it through. Has she got it over the line? Only just in the end. I think she dived for the line and almost came up short. So it's a 2-point lead to Swans early in the game. Flags on the scoreboard, Dig, seem to indicate that there's a fair breeze favouring Subiaco's end to the right of your screen in this first quarter.
Orla plays on. Neat little kick to Maggie McLaughlin, who takes the mark under pressure from Swan's unsung hero. I'm sure she's well sung here at Swan District's Footy Club. Not a player that would have a magnet on many boards, but a very important player, Edwards. This kick is a good one. It goes back to Orla in front of Anderson. Edwards been impressed with her overhead, been impressed with her kicking inside 50 and with her pressure. Maguire in the box seat, carries her, hits Mackenzie Dowrick. The game's opened up in front of her now. She finds a player in the middle of the ground who's got time for a bounce if she's brave enough. She is. Steps inside. She's waiting for a bit of help. She does find that in Dowrick. Why not find a kicker? The left foot kick really does put pressure on. It's Maddie Dodd in line for her first possession. It could be her first goal. She's playing against Melisha Hardy. Melisha Hardy's pressure is good enough to get this ball spat forward. But the coach's box next to us, Subiaco, will be also very happy with Maddie Dodd getting a forward 50 throw-in out of her first possession in league footy. Exciting to see her out there.
Pretty good composure, I think, from the young girl on debut. She could have sort of turned it over and allowed Swans to take that possession and rebound off their defensive line, but instead made sure it stays in a dangerous position.
I think composure would be a good word that sums up the way Maddie Dodd plays. Another one would be hard. This is a kick from the top from Birchall towards Buckley. Gelmy does enough, not far enough to be paid a mark. Maguire has a runner in Osborne. Doesn't quite find, or does find her now. Initially had her on the spread. Hayley Miller's filled in the kicking hole. The kick was meant to go to Hyde. She plays on quickly. She's got herself really wide. Does manage to pull it across. There's defence there from the Swans. You'd think they could do enough to get this over the line. Trying to go out of the air spectacularly. Diego Maradona style was Jamie Rust as she gets the minor score. Swans now lead just by a point.
Diego uses the hand sometimes, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
On the boot. 1 point the diff.
Just trying to think of a soccer player.
The Euro's on at the moment.
Probably could go with a pretty famous female soccer player that we all know the name of.
Maguire. Always love watching her kick the footy. She's got good distance on this kick and finds Henry. It's a great exponent of the drop punt there, just charging out of the goal square and then sending a good 45 to 50 metres on the fly, and that's into the breeze as well. Bella Edgley back in the side late in the season after started so well and had that hand problem. Kayla Hyde gives it back to Edwards, who turns it over with this kick. Intercepting is Tyler McIntosh. Wants to get it moving quickly. It's a pretty fast-paced game, early stages. This kick's gone wide. Thorogood gives chase, then fumbles it onto her knee. And as a result, it'll be a touch ball, boundary throw in.
Michaela Hyde's gotten her hands on the ball fairly easily as well, with distance off her defender each time.
Yeah, standard is high, speed is up, which is good to see. I think a lot of people, when they saw the weather forecast for today, was a bit worried we might see a really dour struggle between these two sides, particularly when I'm sure neither side want to make an error today with grand final just around the corner. But the weather has turned out to be okay, at least in terms of the rain. Strong breeze to the right of your screen, which probably means that Swans have had a pretty good start here. 5 minutes still to go in the first quarter. Miller gives the hand pass away to Ritchie. Gets the clearing kick. That's clever from Gelmy. Nicely done with the right hand. Fended off her opponent with the left and reeled it in nicely.
Under pressure too. Kicks a good one. Disconnects with Stribley, who's done her work on the wing. Kane style. And kicks just a little wide and will carry the line and go to bounds in the full in front of Dana East. And it will give Mackenzie Derrick another chance at a kick. Talk about Mackenzie's kick is so good. Forget how good her hands are too. Her and her sister's handball really do break up play because of this spectacular kick. We often forget, and this is a nice one to Brown. She hits Brown at 57 metres. It's a good aggressive place to start the last entry. Got a couple of numbers over the back. Kicks flat and hard to Barkley. She doesn't manage to hold on to that one. She's usually very good contested mark. Hand to Cox was okay, or intercept was okay. Trying to work forward too here is Dodge. She's taken a shot. We'll call that a shot now. So she's had a shot and an out of bounds in 2 possessions. Knocks forward back towards the line from Subiaco and escorted over by Brianna Hyde. And Brianna Hyde, she's got neat kicking skills. Interesting to see her kick that in. She hands it over to Osborne. Osborne reliably fires Jamie Henry. Now, Jen, these players looking very similar because there's a couple of blonde rinses have gone through ahead of the prelim final and some girls that are notably lighter this week than last.
There's a Channel 7 opportunity next week if you have a win today, so
it's not like
got to start early.
Not like they've been surfing in the beach though. It might have been at the hairdresser. This is East. Comes through the hole in the end. Bushby over the back. Portlet very strong, gets to the front. Trying to bring Miller into the game. She keeps her feet usually. Slips in this occasion. East hard at the footy. Golisano wraps her up and we'll have a ball in. A ball up, I should say, around the ground. And of course, this is our favourite umpire. This is John O'Antonio.
Let's check out his work on the ball up. It's pretty good. Gets the right height. Nice leap again there from Wilstra. Maguire strong through the pack. Again, gets good distance with her kick. Bushby just nudged under it by Cortlet. In the opposite direction, Edwards, and then another soccer kick off the deck has worked out nicely. Anderson goes again, and Stribbers has got the pace. Look at her go, just needs to be clean with the pickup. She doesn't. She just soccers, gets it rolling end over end. Will it get all the way? Brown gets back just in time. Great chase from Brown. She's had an outstanding start to this game, Jen. She's helped Subiaco get their first goal of the game, and she's probably saved one just there because not many people can run down Tara Stribley.
Well, that just shows just a desire, doesn't it? Because she's run so far to get impact into that game. Now, Stribley had chosen to collect. She probably would have been better off in that instance, but a great example from Brown of never giving up.
Derrick, towering mark. Immediately tries to connect, but Gelmy comes up and reads her kick. They played together a number of years ago in the State 18s program. I think Gelmy was her captain all those years ago. Intercepting here is Poxidio. Comes through hard. Doesn't quite get clean in the end. Allows East just to chip the ball over. Naira Anderson in the box seat. She can't hold it. Ortlep came late. I think Naira Anderson had already spilt it forward, and by the time the pressure came, there's a little shove in the back or a held without it, and it'll go Subiaco's way. That's Tani Golisano, the Subiaco captain, working hard as a midfielder into defence and winning some contested footy in the back 50 for Subiaco. This kick's a beauty. It might be somewhat accidental, but Poxidio's got it. Osborne, she thought she could smell a goal. Kia Buckley, very good runner. She leads the race into this one. Tracking her is Gelmy. No not shabby herself either. The pressure comes. Good enough Buckley to release the handball. Dodd can't quite find the handle. Hardy spits this out as far as Buckley, and Buckley's tackled to the ground with a minute 20 seconds to play, and what was really open and fast has become a really strong contest.
Despite the strong breeze as well, Swans have been able to get plenty of distance with their kicks to the left of screen as well, so not having a major impact on this game, the breeze, just yet. Dowry takes the breeze out of it there, tumbling along the ground. Stribley comes in. Hardy just interfered with by Dot. Umpire was right on the spot. John Antonio just a couple of metres away. Spots the free kick. State rep earlier this year with the State 19s. Mel Hardy kicks long, clears Lakay, and sliding in at the back, taking a well-judged mark, Jamie Rust. Late chance for Subi to score. Just a goal either way in the first quarter so far. Long towards full forward. Ralph, good use of the body. She's an underrated player, Amy Ralph. This is a dangerous kick across goal, but it works out well. Edwards sliding in, takes the mark. They've opened up the broadcast side of the ground. Kick toward Cox. Collects on the half volley. Turns it nicely inside. Not the best of kicks this time from Ralph, but Edwards makes it okay. Charging through hard. Gets it back to Ralph. Tumbles it in the middle of the ground. Bushby, the inclusion here today for Cameron. Does very well coming up the middle. Sliding in and almost catching it between her knees was Wheelstruck. Time ticking away. Siren will beat them. They had a 3-on-2 breaking inside 50. And time just running out for Swan Districts, but a very entertaining first quarter. Our scoreboard on the screen says 139 playing 128. The scoreboard here at the ground says 139 apiece. So we'll sort that out during the quarter time break and let you know whether Swans are leading by a point or whether it scores level here at quarter time. In the preliminary final, Swans and Subiaco here on front row screens. Great start to this game. Plenty more to come. Stick with us throughout the afternoon.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Rule 1. No internet searching.
New Optus Pause puts the Optus Living Network in your hands. It allows you to pause your Optus mobile and home Wi-Fi connections with one touch. Because sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
What can be broken but can't be held?
It starts with yes.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
Quarter time in the preliminary final, and it's a 1-point lead in favour of Swan Districts, the home side here. 139 playing 128. The goal to Anderson and Cortlet. She's there on screen as this match has started at a pretty fierce sort of pace. Obviously the winner taking on Peel Thunder in the grand final next week. Subiaco lost that grand final match last year against Peel Thunder, and Swans the year before were losers in the grand final. So both of these teams know how to get there, and they'll be pretty keen to make amends for their previous appearance in the grand final. Adam Dancy there calling his team together, and Naira Anderson at the back, number 16, has had a very bright start to this game. Dave Lindsay, Clint Degerot and Jen Wallace your commentary team here this afternoon. What have you made of things in the first term, Jack?
Look, I think it's been a real arm wrestle. I think the interesting thing is Subi had the breeze in that first quarter. So I actually think this second quarter is going to be really telling because Swans you made the wind seem negligible. So if they can take advantage of that, that'll be interesting second quarter. I think Anderson just carried on her good work from last week. Clint, didn't she? She was a standout in the wet and in a losing team last week for Swans, and she's led the way again here so far, finding distance off her players.
She just sort of willed herself into the contest last week and really tried hard to just keep Swannies going forward, and it's nice to see Bella Edgley just acknowledge how free she's getting at the front of the contest in the forward 50 too. You mentioned Michaela Hyde during that first quarter too. She's got off the chain a couple of times and looking very dangerous. She's also looking to create into the open side of open space as well, which is exciting for the Darks. Mackenzie Darrick has had a big impact for Subiaco so far, and she's thrusting her team forward consistently.
She's got such a weapon, that boot, doesn't she? It carries so much further. And as you said, her handball...
But she's also clean.
Clean hands just makes a massive difference. I know we're not looking at the wet. The ground will be a little bit slippery still because of the wet conditions this morning. Overhead's beautiful. So as the players settle in, it'll be interesting to see which team really just opens up and allows that outside run.
Earlier today, Peel Thunder winners in the reserves, so they'll take on East Fremantle in next week's grand final. And South Fremantle won the Rogers Cup preliminary final as well, so they will get a rematch against West Perth, which is the two sides that met in the second semi-final. That'll be next week's grand final in the Rogers Cup as well. And disappointing for the girls as well, Jen, with the new restrictions have been put in place. The Best and Fairest Awards tomorrow night have been postponed, which is a real shame. I know a lot of the girls had taken days off or booked days off. They've got their bookings as well at the
that might explain the tints in the hair.
Yeah, a bit of hairdo and the fake tan as well was ready to go tomorrow, but they'll need to save that and get it for a bit later sometime.
That's right. The evening wear gets put back, hung back in the wardrobe.
It's a terrific night for the ladies too, because you don't recognise anyone as a sort of coach, former administrator, commentator. You're looking at footy shots and the girls walk up and say, "How you going?" And you say, "You look fantastic. I have no idea who you are." You try to put a number on their back and then you can realise who they are. So it's a wonderful night for the girls to be spectacular. And just as not quite as spectacular as they are on game day, particularly on Sundays in the afternoons, because there's a real treat on today with a couple of different players that are strutting their stuff, and there's one of them on screen right there, Hayley Miller. She's got off the chain early. She's such an important player and such a great player to watch across all the formats that she's done. She was terrific with the WAFL. She's terrific in the WAFLW, and of course she's super on the footy fields for Freo Mandel in the AFLW.
Has such a passion for football and for her club, doesn't she? Like, obviously a AFLW player, plays with the Dockers, and as soon as the opportunity comes to play back down, there's no question when it comes to her. She's such a passionate player when it comes to club footy and where she's come from.
Looks like the type of player that the girls just want to play with.
Absolutely, yeah.
When she didn't want to, or wasn't able to play last year, she came up and commentated with us as well.
She did.
Can't stay away. Loves the footy. Did a good job up in the commentary box as well, so there's a future in that for her. Once she hangs up the boots, Subiaco out of the middle through Ritchie to start things off in the second. Buckley's hand pass back towards Golisano. Sits up nicely for her. She started the first quarter well, and she's got an early touch in this term, but here is Ralph in defence. Just slowing things down for Swan Districts. Gets a lead straight up the middle from East. The kick misses her. Lakay favoured by the bounce. Nice little sidestep back onto the right boot. Good distance with the kick. Harkin goes one-handed, then goes back to fetch the footy. Caught by a couple of Swans, but gets a hand pass back towards Walker. Now it's intercepted. Anderson's little kick into space. Wheel struck. Couldn't quite get to it. And now Harkin comes away with the footy. That's good use as well. Straight up the middle. And Darrick, been highlighted here by Deggs and Jen as well. The quality of her kicking, so dangerous. Finds Wilkins. She's played every game this year for Subi. Sends it out wide to Ritchie. Another player that hasn't missed so far this year. Long kick towards half forward. Good spoil from Osborne. Always very calm under pressure in defence. Gets a high kick away. Taylor couldn't take the footy with her. It wouldn't have been paid. Didn't go 15 anyway. Subi get it inside. Opportunity down there. Good defence from Hardy against Buckley, and she'll hold it up for a ball up. The scoreboard that we've got is correct. They've actually corrected the scoreboard here at the ground during the break. A 1-point lead to Swans.
John Antonio in everything early. Throws the ball up again. Rust and Lakay go at it. Rust receives the handball back. She's put on the ground by Kane in the end. The flying shot will be very, very, very shallow on the far side and out of bounds on the full. Not a bad defensive attacking kick, I guess, for Subiaco, because this is going to be an interesting kick back in. Subiaco are well set up, as they have been. Short one's on. Doesn't quite carry to Osborne, but she does enough to get the long one to outlet now. She's asking a fair bit of hide, and Thorogood comes in and intercepts. Good catch by Thorogood. Really, really liked watching her play footy since she debuted a couple of years ago. She gets better each game and each season. Her kick this time is being outthought by Osborne. She's just trying to connect high with her forwards, and Osborne's able to catch that one. Intercept. Her kick's a bit of a wobbly one, but finds East in the middle of the ground, or more central. Swans is trying to come to this side of the ground. Edgley now, trying to mark in front of McLaughlin. McLaughlin does enough to get it down. Hyde and East lurking, waiting in the front. Bushby, quick if she can get a run at it. Webb worked off it by Mackenzie Dowrick. Bella Edgley picks it up, tumbles it towards Wellstra. Walker does a great job in the end to rip it out of her hands, and now she possesses it on the ground. Pressure comes from the smaller Swans forwards. She's been done for holding the ball. Had too much opportunity there. It was Michaela Hyde with a great tackle. On the far side, Chloe Taylor and Bianca Webb. She's going to go in that direction now. Carries into Chloe Taylor's hands and just gets over the top of it's Jess Ritchie in this case. And then she connects with Michaela Hyde. So just edging their way forward. 5 metres at 5 metres. It's actually Bree Hyde. Thought that Michaela's out running more than any she ever has in her life, but it's Bree Hyde in this case. The kick doesn't find Wellstra, and falling into the back of her opponent and giving that one away is Abby Bushby.
You got fooled by the two Hydes because they were both there. Michaela did run on, but Bree got to the footy first, and then Michaela continued pushing deep into attack. Here on the way out is Dowrick. Dave Lindsay, Clint Degerott and Jen Wallace, your commentary team, plus some extra special comments from Dean Margetts in the box next to us as well.
He's got the effects mic
right next to the effects mic. He's having a good chat with Joe Taylor, who's in the box after that as well. So we've got a team of 4 at the moment, even though Dino's not on the books. He still offers his comments for us. Did come and have a chat to us pre-game as well, didn't he, Jen? And said, you guys always are happy to talk me up.
Yep, another stat for him. Every game gets mentioned.
Got to look after him. Does a power of work. He was in Adelaide yesterday umpiring the AFL. He's back here doing his day job on a Sunday. Swannies leading in the race. The footy. Bushby just slips over at the critical moment. And then the cavalry arrive to hold things up. Ball sneaks out the back. Walker comes through. Little hand pass from Harkin. Intercepted by Bree Hyde. Clever little kick. Just too much on it for Edgley. But there's an extra Swan there in Anderson, who hands it back to Edgley. Nice little sidestep. Straightens up and can finish. Just pushes across the face. A very clever footballer, Bella Edgley, and Tex, you'll be able to tell us a bit about her confidence growing during the season, because early in the year I think she had a bit of doubt about whether she was actually good enough to play at this level, but really did a very good job for Swans in the early rounds until she was cut down by a hand injury.
It was a little bit of tough love for Bella Edgley. We had to say, you need to play some league footy, and she said, me? I said, yeah, you. Why? Because you're really good at football. This kick does get intercepted in the end by Swannies. I can give you some graphic content about that finger injury too, because I can tell you what colour Bella Edgley's little finger bone is, because it was well exposed. A little training mishap with the state 18s, and it's great to see her back out. Of course, she got back last week, Bella Edgley. Not many people can sell candy to Claire Orlep either, so that's a bit of a bonus. She hasn't bought much candy over her career. This is in the hands now of Ugle. Ugle's flat kick's okay. Does it find Nora Anderson? No. Great hand in there from Claire Orlep. She pulls the ball towards the top of 50. It's Poxidio. She does a pretty good job of getting this ball towards the middle of the ground. Or basically, led to the footy there was Osborne, twisting and turning, attempting to get it inside. Eventually finds Brown. This ball now with Poxidio again towards Dodd. Cox involved. It's Holly Hyder doing the one-on-one work earlier. Jess Cox, good tackle, managed to roll her over. It'll get a ball up. Right in the middle of the ground, almost at reset point, and guess who?
Jono.
Jono.
A big day. The rucks separate themselves. Lakay doesn't mind a run and jump at the ruck contest, wins it down. Brown onto the footy, well tackled. Jono will get another crack here. It's a real arm wrestle, Jen. There's not much space for either team at the moment.
It was interesting then, wasn't it, that Subi didn't have a lot of options forward. You saw Hyder win the foot race and then have to turn back and wait. But yet, when it got deep inside 50 for Swans, there was spare numbers, and Ortlet was trying to stop a solution of 2.
Nicely done by Bushby. Good ground ball pick up. Sends it inside 50. Harkin in the way, though, and sends it back out. A couple of lines there, but Harkin got more on the kick than she expected. As a result, it runs away, and there'll be a free kick here to Webb.
Two's not enough to beat all of them.
Well, the thing from the coaches' books that sit beside us is the question then comes in, well, why is there constantly seem to be this free Swans player running inside 50? Where's it coming from? Is it coming from a midfielder not doing the work?
Well, both occasions when they were outnumbered, it was because they were, their rebound 50 was turned over, so the backs have pushed up the ground, and then they've turned it over quite close, as they have again here, and the ball goes in towards Subiaco. 2 fly at the back of this pack. Diving on the footy now is dangerous. He's got to get rid of this because the umpires love this situation. He's got himself balanced and it's holding the ball. As soon as she pulled that in, Ashton Cowie, you did pull it in, mate. There's nothing you can argue about that. But the Swannies did pounce on you and made sure you couldn't get that out. Which is, I guess, these days, good forward pressure. I'd have never really liked punishing the person that's actually going the ball. Just quietly. So, Ashton, feel your pain. This is Edwards. Very, very good player for Swannies on approach. Gets into a nice rhythm. Kicks it on the end of her foot. Nearly intercepted by Subiaco. Nora Anderson was lurking. Welstra's there. Maguire's gone forward. That's Michaela Hyde with a tackle. Could have been rewarded. A second tackle in there by Bushby's good. The player down. Just in front of that stoppage.
It's a shoulder problem.
Yep.
Get it in. Is it Hyde holding her shoulder off that tackle?
Wellstra, I think that is.
Yeah. Yep. The umpire's just going to delay play for the moment.
And she doesn't look comfortable at all.
She's holding a ribs,
Maybe a bit of whack in the side, which would be a good result in a prelim final for a very good player. Which allows Maguire to jump up in the ruck. She's done that for a number of years here at Swans. Used to do it under Nicole Graves. Kicking the ball out of the pack and around her shoulders. Edwards has got the carry. Did Ashton Cowie get a nick on it? No, she didn't. She's not remonstrating too hard either. And she's one that's quite famous for her remonstration. So you'd reckon if she nicked it, we'd all know. And so just a bit of a failure in defence from Subiaco. And a good kick from Edmonds, who's got no celebration on this at all. That was a goal. Yep. Yeah. No, we've got a snagger there. There's no celebration here whatsoever from the Swans forwards. So it's business as usual, I guess, from that snap from Edwards. I think she deserved a bit of a cuddle or at least a high five from her Swannies teammates.
You're right. With how close this game is being, to take that opportunity in free play and turn and snap it truly, you expect a bit more of a lift, don't you? Because it's a huge moment in the game.
It's a good kick too.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had to work. Subi's defence has been excellent. Really, really putting pressure on. There's no clear way forward for the Swans forwards at the moment.
It's the sort of game that probably 4 goals will just about win it for you. It's tight and both defences are very strong. Swans working it forward again. Bushby hits it away to Edgley, off to East. Normally okay in front of goals. Doesn't kick that one as she might have liked. And coming out of defence, Walker gets distance on the kick to just clear Bree Hyde. McLaughlin, her kick's been touched, so the mark won't be paid in a million. She's clever. Nice sidestep. Actually waited for Cox to attack her and then ducked out the other side. Nice judgment from Wilkins. Subi have moved this nicely. Hardy comes in strong on Dodd and then gets it back again from Ralph. Hardy's kick just a little too high for Maguire, but at the back is Ugle. Started in the long sleeves, got rid of them at quarter time. A little toe poke back towards Maguire. Being hassled by a pack of Lions. Great tackle from Ugle. Just turning her opponent. No, umpire said she got her a bit high in the end.
Slipped on late.
And Maddie Wilkins will take the free kick right beneath our broadcast position here for front row screens. That's 7.5 minutes to go in the quarter. The kick not as short as she would have liked. It clears the head of Golisano. No touch on it, so we'll see a free kick going the way of Swans, and Osborne will take it. Umpire sets Miller on the mark. Osborne wants to come inside. There's no clear option here. Gelmy's in a one-on-one. It clears her head. Brown's got some speed at the back. Onto the footy quickly. This time Shrilly runs her down, but it's a good hand pass. Gets it over the top to Hunt. Wide open space inside 50. Hunt kicks and chases. Dodd's there as well. Osborne comes across to shut her down. Dodd squeezes a kick on goal and has pushed it out to the right. Well done, Osborne. I think she ran twice as hard as she normally would. Not that she doesn't normally run hard, Deg, but after that kick back into the corridor, she knew she had to make amends.
She's so good with those switching kicks too, so she would have been reasonably disappointed, but happily to get away with no goal there. Dodd too, pretty clever to get herself in that position, and Osborne showed a bit of wisdom not to get into her back, because I think it would have been easy just to tip Dodd over in that occasion. It's a kind of a play on. She's just walking forward, kicks underneath the footy. There's something wrong with this ball because some really good kicks to the footy aren't working just at the moment. Cox below her knees to Henry. Henry just chops it out of the area. Falls towards Maguire. She'll get pressured from Dowrick. coming up to meet the ball's Ortlep, and she does enough to take a very good mark in front of her face. Under some good pressure from Bella Edgley. She moves around. She wants to sell some candy back to Edgley. She bought a fistful of it early. Abby Bushby, fast when she can get a clean set. She can't get a kick, or she just gets a nick on it, luckily. Michaela, Hyde, Bella Edgley. Swamp on Subiaco opponent. We'll have another ball up. Who's that under the pack there? Cortlet. Call it. Very good player for Subiaco. Very good developing play. This goes out the back to Walker. Sorry, it's not, it's Wilkins. Wilkins kicks the ball long and deep. Amy Ralph, that's a good mark. She plays on immediately. Maybe this will break the play up a bit if she can get this kick over the top. She does. Edgley's found a bit of space on Ortlep, takes the mark. Holds up play just for the moment, just to see what happens ahead of the play. Bushby cuts in front, little lead. Edgley wants to dish this off to Maguire. Maguire, just long and hoping towards the 50-metre line. Surrounding that Subiaco players, but getting first is Edmonds. She gives it to Kane. Little fumble, little basketball bounce to Stribley. Stribley's usually good in this situation. She's got a runner. She tries to use that runner. She's put Michaela Hyde in a 3v1, and she ends up with a snap over her shoulder, and Corlett runs it down. They worked themselves from a really good position, Jen, into a really bad position to take a shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, call it huge smother there, and Subi just running back with panic with their defence, really. That's what's sort of coming across to me. And really, there was a dangerous period there for Swans where maybe they just needed to take it one kick earlier.
Certainly all about taking your opportunities, and you're right, that one kick earlier would have been the right option. Stribley's pretty good around goals, and I reckon the first snap would have been the best option there. Now it's a good scrap for the footy. Taylor to Kane, under pressure, hand pass goes nowhere. Buckley takes a couple of bodies on the way through. Now Miller stands up in the tackle. She won't be brought to ground too easily, especially by her Fremantle teammate Steph Kane. She wasn't going to let her have the better of that duel. So it's the Rucks to go at it again. Lakay with the left hand. Miller's there, crashing in again. Lakay, good second effort. Maguire lurking away to the right. East tries to barge her way through. Kick comes out of there from the Lions, and it's been marked by Buckley. Buckley has McLaughlin short. Kicks in that direction. And Subi happy to control the footy a little bit. Just 4 minutes of play remaining. Penetrating kick towards Dowrick. It was touched by Osborne in front. Dowrick wanted to dummy around Osborne. She wasn't buying it. Kick goes forward, but the pressure applied onto Dowrick affected the kick, and now Ralph has it. She spots an option in the middle. It's a good kick this time. Bushby has it. Dropped the mark though, now she's forced to play on. Harkin with some physical work. Opens up a path for Brown. We've seen how quick she can be. Has a bounce, Gelmy comes across. Dodges her, caught though. Hardy does nicely, socket forward by Brown. Ralph's got a couple to beat, she leaves the ball behind. Presidio, can she get it to Dodd? Oh, great struggle from Ralph. Umpire spotted some high contact. And it's going to go the way of Ralph. And both teams have had a couple of moments in this quarter, Jen, where they just take a big sigh of relief in defence, but the forwards have had half a chance just to sneak a goal.
Yeah, it's a really good look at that, wasn't there, for Subiaco, and just didn't manage to finish the job. Brown just going that little bit too far and getting caught. Needed to get it on the boot earlier and get it deep.
Gelmy was able to reach in and knock it out by hand. This is near Miller, though. The kick in from Swans, and Miller's kick around the corner will find Dodge. She can't quite seal the deal. She's brought Ralph in to defend. Stepping around as a rush kick. Goes to the close side for a point. And the Subiaco Lions represented on the board with SL. I haven't seen that before.
I was going to say that.
Just the
First
S.
time I've seen SL.
You would expect Swan District's FC to be on the board if that's the case. And then Emily Maguire will kick the ball in. Just a goal, the difference. Goal earlier in the quarter to the Swans. Now the only mark. This kick has gone straight to Hayley Miller, who wasn't able to finish it in this case, maybe for the first time in a couple of days. Sunshine in the eyes. Goldasano's kick goes in nice and long. Maguire is able to rectify her poor kick in by taking the chest mark in front of Rust. This kick finds Stribley in a little bit of space, and this time a bit of calmness prevails from the Ducks as they try to build towards their forward 50 again. Webb, haven't seen her for a little while. Toe poking to her own advantage there, trying to get past Harkin. Proves very difficult to do so. A couple of players get her down in the end. The quest to drive the ball forward is okay from Subiaco. Another 2v1. It's been 2v1s all the way down this line. Subiaco done pretty well to take that much grass off the Swans mids and defenders in this case with a minute 41 to play. It is Swan Districts, a goal in front, 16 points to 10. Dave Lindsay.
Again, critical moments here with 90 seconds before the halftime siren. A goal either way be very important. Ritchie gains probably 10 metres, closer to the boundary as well though. Osborne taken high in the tackle. She'll get the free kick beneath the scoreboard. Comes inside with her kick to Kane. The Swans do look to switch. I was wondering if they might go in a bit of slow play to get towards half-time, but they've taken the game on and it might work out okay. Kick didn't exactly go where it was intended, but Michaela Hyde's worked well. Clever use of the footy to put it out into some space in front of Hardy. Little fumble causes her a problem. Call it, ends up winning the footy away. Off to Dodd. Kick goes wide. It'll get just inside the 50-metre arc, so if it goes out of play, they can set up for a throw-in, but it's kept in by Rust. Back to Dodd, nearly loses her footing. Off to Dowrick. Off a step, she gains ground again. Deep into the pocket, Miller gives chase. Can't keep this one in, the little fumble, costly for her. So a throw-in with about 35 metres of space towards goal. 30 seconds on the clock here, Jen. I reckon defensively, you're on high alert, aren't you?
Yeah, I think Maguire and Osborne are there just calling all the ducks back.
The Eagles coming back in to support her as well. She's spare and she might run on this footy. Is that a throw or a tap? It's a throw. Umpire in the centre corridor spotted that one and blew the whistle. It wasn't an intentional throw, Jen. I reckon it just got stuck on the hand.
It was a carry, volleyball carry.
It was, wasn't it?
So Maddie Wilkins hands it off to Dowrick. She's got the distance in her. It's a thumping kick on the siren and it just fades away at the last moment. How big would that have been? Scores would have been level at half-time. But instead it's a 5-point lead to Swan Districts. 2-4 plays, 1-5. Dowrick's been dangerous. That left boot of hers is a real weapon. But she couldn't quite sneak that one inside the left-hand upright. And at half-time, goals to Anderson and Edwards for Swans and Call It for Subiaco. And we've got a good contest here, Jen. A couple of quick comments from you before we head off to our half-time break.
Well, again, we keep thinking the wind is going to, the breeze is going to play in a big say, and it hasn't on either quarter so far. They're just, both teams just showing such desperation in defence, and it's going to be come into this third quarter and into the second half, which team just takes that opportunity in front of goal. There's not going to be that many of them. It was almost a highlight just there for Dowrick to take them into half time, but I think, yeah, both teams very evenly matched, and so far defence is the area that's just getting them out of trouble.
So a 5-point lead to Swan Districts at half-time. The winner of this game moves into the grand final next week down at David Gray's Arena in Mandurah. They'll take on Peel Thunder, who obviously will be the home team in the grand final. It wasn't designed that way, but they were the ones that won the bidding process to host the grand final, and then, as it turns out, their league and reserve sides are both in the grand final. So let's hope that everything goes well COVID-wise in Perth over the next week, and we get to see a big crowd in there at David Gray's Arena next week for the grand final. Subiaco heading into the rooms. They're down by 5 points at half-time. We'll be back on the other side with a few of the highlights from the first half here at an empty Steel Blue Oval.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Rule 1. No internet searching.
New Optus Pause puts the Optus Living Network in your hands. It allows you to pause your Optus mobile and home Wi-Fi connections with one touch. Because sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
What can be broken but can't be held?
It starts with yes.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
That's why we want to get on board.
Half time here at Steel Blue Oval. There's a lot going on up here in the commentary box, and the timekeepers and the umpires as we're trying to overrule the goal umpire on the scoreboard.
And then the commentators teasing the timekeeper's box. Live on air.
As we have a look down here, this is the left-hand side of your screen, the Derbyl-Yerrigan end. Swan District's done an outstanding job here naming both of the ends of Steel Blue Oval with Indigenous names. Derbyl-Yerrigan is the Indigenous name for the Swan River. And the Swan River's just a street or two away over the back of the goals at the left-hand side of your screen. And there's the city end, the Perth City end, the Boorloo end, which is the Noongar name for the Perth City CBD area. Thanks to Roanna Edwards, who gave us the official description of this. She does a lot of work down here at Swannies, and Jen and Degs. I think it's fantastic.
Yep.
We see Indigenous uniforms from every team in the WAFL, and we should probably see even more of those as well. But to see the ends of the names of the ends named after the Indigenous community, and the work Swans do in that space is massive. So many outstanding Swan District's Indigenous footballers over the journey in both the men's and the women's programs as well. So great work from Swannies.
It's even more than Indigenous too. It's actually Wajak Noongar. So it's very
correct.
specific to the people here. There's a lot of, if you listen to some of the people local here, and I've been lucky enough to do so a couple of times, there's a very, very sacred areas around here and on the other side too, that some of the women can talk to you a little bit about, and some of the men's areas on this side as well. It's fascinating, and I guess a little sad that we've sort of paved over some of that wonderful history, but it's great that we can still get access to some of those stories, and Swan Districts go a long way to making sure that their population here, which has always been very good with their Aboriginal players, quite a famous club for that in South Fremantle, and it's wonderful that we can recognise those two things, or they can recognise those two things, and we can be a part of that. You can see the Aboriginal flag that flies here
On the scoreboard?
every single day on the scoreboard, and every game you'll see that in the Australian flag and the Swans flag. The Swan Districts Footy Club's commitment to reconciliation, and having to have a little bit to do with the club a couple of years ago. It's quite proud here in this, as we see Bella Edgley just start to move the ball forward with Webb and some highlights.
Yeah, well, just to go back onto that point, I think that instances like this with the signage, education is the way forward. It's a shame that we've lost it. I think we can all agree with that. But the education to bring it back and bring it front of mind in these opportunities, I think this is brilliant.
It's never been lost. It hasn't been mine.
Exactly.
It's always been owned by the people. But it's fantastic that we can start to learn off the people that are from this area, and particularly from this particular place.
Must mean a lot for Emily Maguire, Hope Ugle, Mel Hardy, all the girls out there, and like growing up watching some Swans players, the Narkles and Peter Ware and guys like that, Kevin Caton,
Danny Penny,
outstanding Indigenous footballers that just used to bring the McDonald's stand alive down here at Bassendean Oval in the 80s and the 90s. But the girls here, and with Em Maguire being a captain of the club as well, I think that's fantastic for her to be able to share some of the knowledge she would have. The Maguire family, synonymous with sport in WA, across cricket, footy and pretty much every other sport going around. So, I think it's a brilliant effort from Swan Districts, and they continue to be one of the leaders in this space as well.
And it continues to be a great place to bring Aboriginal players too, because Bunbury, of course, through their area, a lot of Swan Districts players come from there. And of course, Pilbara being a Swans recruitment area too, so Warwick Wilson and a number of, basically his friends and family from the northwest of WA, from the Pilbara region, playing here. Yeah, so we've got some Nullama blokes playing here. We've had some Injabani blokes playing here, some people with Barnamar family. So it's not just the Noongar, but of course this is Noongar land. But it's great to see that extends well beyond just this local area in terms of connecting Aboriginal players to the Swan District Footy Club.
And Jen, the first half, we've got a real contest. I mean, we expected one. These two teams have been in pretty good form. Subi certainly 7 of the last 8 wins for them. Swans only losing 2 games all year, and Peel have been the only team that have been able to sneak in front of them before the final siren at any game. So we expected a close contest. We've got one, and it's probably looking like 4 goals will be enough to win you the game today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We did come in expecting such a tight and brutal contest when it's stuck inside, and we've seen that. Neither team probably being able to get it outside and get it to their pace players and actually get good use of it up forward. I think we've seen a couple of instances for both teams where they've overused the ball in their forward 50, and I think example just on screen right now, that should they come through out of this halftime big break, that's the thing that the forwards and the mids need to take advantage of. If we get it forward, let's take it one kick earlier, at least at the very least we get it really deep then in towards the goal square and go earlier and go after those points, because let's be honest, this game, one team gets forward through to the grand final, the other team's season ending, so why not go for the win?
It's 10 minutes of good footy that probably gets you into a grand final in the next 40 minutes of football, so
and
huge opportunity.
Swans have probably played 10 minutes of good footy, and then I reckon Subiaco probably played that good 10 minutes straight back, so they've done it. It just depends on who can stick to their game plan, I guess, for the longest.
Subiaco will have the breeze in the third quarter, so it's really up to them to make the most of that when they get their chance. It's an empty Steel Blue Oval, which is a real shame. Hopefully we've got plenty of viewers watching the live stream here today, but with the COVID restrictions that kicked in at 12 o'clock, Joe Taylor mentioned that she had to kick about 400 people out of the grandstands here, which was a real shame because there probably would have been double that here by the time the league match started, with so many Swans fans keen to see the Black and Whites get into the grand final. As we pan around from the Perth City down to the Boorloo end of Steel Blue Oval, it's time for us, with the help of Optus, to take a look at AFL Premiership player Will Schofield's return to the Waffle. It starts with yes.
I started my career here in Western Australia. I played most of my first year at Peel. It was kind of a good transition between junior footy for me and then AFL. It was that middle ground where I sort of grew up a little bit, and it was why I was keen on coming back here. I really felt like that did have a lot to do with me developing not only as a footballer but as a man.
So Hawthorn have done it.
Probably took a long time to get over 2015. When you make a grand final, I think it's the best thing ever, and then when you lose it, you realise it actually could be the worst day of your life. 2015 was just a horrible day. It took almost 3 years to get back there. 2018 was life-defining for me. My best mate was killed in a bike accident. After round one, went to the funeral in Victoria. Pretty much considered not coming back to AFL. I had my first child in June of that year, so that was a real wake-up call for me, and it was great. Fatherhood, changed me a lot. It was a huge roller coaster ride for me that year. Really feeling like my whole AFL life, it was all just gone, and I missed the opportunity. I was not going to get the opportunity to validate my work by playing in a premiership. I wanted that opportunity to, in my mind, validate my worth as a player, but as a person.
The Eagle has landed for the Premiers in 2018.
Having won, it certainly helped that, but I've definitely come to realise your value isn't what you are as a player, it's what you are as a person.
Yeah, well, really, when Scully decided to finish up playing at AFL level, I think he was lured naturally back to Peel, because this is where he played his football before he played AFL, and he felt the sense of the community down here, and he's got a young family, so from what I can understand, it was quite an easy decision for Will to come back to the club, and yeah, we're definitely thankful that we've got him.
Like sort of any player that comes out of the AFL, you're exposed to an elite level of everything really that comes with AFL. Training, diet, mentality, you name it, we've seen it at AFL level. So I guess some guys go into coaching, and not really for me. I don't really see myself as a coach, but I do like teaching, and I like leading young men.
I know he's really optimistic about the young talent that's coming through here at the club, so it's been great for him to run our emerging leaders program with our Colts and our senior emerging leaders. There's no doubt that he'll help those guys develop.
Do it fortnightly. We work through everything I've learned as an AFL footballer. So it's a little bit of a masterclass for them on leadership, but really it's about being a better man and leading better as a person, understanding yourself, and giving you a platform to succeed. If the guys go out and get drafted, I'd be proud, but it would be awesome to see. But if they come out and they've learned something and they're able to be a better person outside the footy club, well, I've probably played my role.
Will Schofield there on his return to the WAFL. Here comes Subiaco back out onto the ground. They trail by 5 points at half-time. Amy Hunt there, the number 9 for Subiaco, has a big job to do in the second half. She's kicked 16 goals this year, but so far goalless here today.
She needs no time though, or space. She just needs to hold good position and get a good ball in. She doesn't need to build a game across. She's just so good.
Time for a quick break from us. On the other side, big second half coming up. Swans leading by 5 points as these two teams look to sneak their way into the grand final against Peel next week.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
Rule 1. No internet searching.
New Optus Pause puts the Optus Living Network in your hands. It allows you to pause your Optus mobile and home Wi-Fi connections with one touch. Because sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
What can be broken but can't be held?
It starts with yes.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
Teams moving into position, just about ready to go in the third quarter. Dave Lindsay, Clint Tegerbrot and Jen Wallace, your commentary team here on front row screens. As we move into the second half of the preliminary final. Umpire holds the ball aloft and away we go. Ritchie, and good to see Wilstra back out there after copping a knock to her ribs during the second quarter. Dowrick with the first kick of the term, gets good distance towards centre half forward. Ralph knocked off the footy. Support comes from Maguire though. Steps her way through traffic and again gets good distance. Hyde just pushed into a great contest. She's a bit sore, but her coaching staff will be very pleased with her attack on that football. Edwards towards centre half forward. Ball runs away from Ugle, has to go and track it. And then under pressure, one-on-one, ripping the ball out of her hands was Call It. Coming through Miller, gained some ground. Buckley and Gelmy, good contest. Buckley gets a hand pass away. Dowrick's there. Run comes from Cortlet back towards Dowrick. Good option, then kicks long with the left. It'll get over the back. Opportunity for Wilkins. Ball doesn't sit for her. Great work in defence again from Ralph. Used the body superbly and then clears the area. Kane gets an important hand in there. Off the deck goes East. Ugle uses the body, opens a path for East to come back and win the football again. Off to Kane. Beats a desperate Ritchie with the diving tackle, and then the kick just had a bit too much on it for Hyde. Rolls away from her, and Thorogood will get the free kick at left half back. But a very competitive start in the first 90 seconds of this third quarter from both teams.
Got Call It just holding her side in back play as well for Subiaco.
Call carried the ball intended for Dowrick. Ulster looked in a good position to mark it in the end. It ends it by hand. It gets to Dowrick. Dowrick's kick pretty much straight down the throat of the Swans defender. Doing some great work to hold that up and potentially working herself in a position to get a free kick, which she does. No, it was a ball up. Sorry, I thought that was definitely a free kick to hide it, but well done to hold that up in the end. It was a kick to the chest of the Swan District's player, Hayley Miller. Gets this handball going Subiaco's way. Trying to get back into the game too on the far side. Let's Call It. She's really working off her body there. The Swan District's opponent very aware of Bianca Webb at the moment.
There's always some good noises around here. The old grandstand.
Someone's climbing on the room, is it? Interesting note too, just in while we got a bit of lull in play, is we didn't get Luke Sanders onto the ground. We didn't get Dean Margetts into the ground any time that we get the camera on them. Sick of getting baked at different times, those two blokes, so they've been very smart today. Ash Renshaw was a bit shallow on the boundary line too. Couldn't quite get her on screen as this ball's been, I guess, rugby leagued forward before there was a tackle which was deemed as dangerous, and carried forward in that tackle was Harkin. She lost her feet in that tackle, which means she probably had something, she probably played some part in that, because she's usually very hard to move in terms of her strength, particularly in her core. Flashing through Wilkins on the far side, really gets it to Ritchie. Ritchie's little toe kick doesn't favour Golisano, goes to Wellstra in the end to Hope Ugle, into Bushby, and Bushby's able to run and use her left foot. She puts this in the path of Edwards. Maggie McLaughlin, the only Subiaco player coming from behind. Ashton Cowie's done pretty well to put some pressure on the front. The quick kick in the end has fallen onto Sarah Lakey's lap. Sarah's got the distance in her, but she gets the ball over the top and just drops it onto Hyde's chest. She can't secure the ball. You can't help but feel that Swan's just being a little bit laconic in this game and don't have the desperation they had 3 weeks ago. And that's just a drop chest mark in front of goal. Ball up. Lakey jumps, knocks it down in the hands of Hyde again. She's trying to bullock through. Cowie's tackle is good. In fact, that's Thorogood's tackle, which
Anderson
was good.
was dangerous around the edges just then. No one on her for Subiaco.
She again, Lakey pushing forward, trying to get the snap out of there as Hyde, and she gets a minor score. To the far side, 2-5, plays 1-5. Swannies owning the territory just for the moment, but not desperate enough for mine around the contest.
We talked a lot about taking opportunities and really would have liked to have seen Lakey go back and nail that. She's got a good long kick in her when she decides to really set up. Now Thorogood's made a mess of things on the way out. Subi had the extra numbers out wide, but Thorogood's kick went straight up in the air pretty much. Kane dodges around, kicks to the feet of Michaela Hyde. Out the back is East. About 35 out towards full forward. Anderson makes a good contest. Great recovery. And the snap is outstanding from Anderson. She's got 2. And that's a big break for Swan Districts, and she loves it. Naira Anderson, she'll charge to the bench. And I reckon by the time she gets to the boundary line, Jen, she'll have a massive smile on her face. That was a wonderful piece of work from her up forward.
As she should. And what positioning? I was talking about her earlier with the being around the edges and really dangerous. And just then, we talked about players not overusing the ball. Got it in hand and got it on the boot with a snap and a great finish through the middle. Exactly what Swans needed. Exactly what both of these teams, when they're in that scoring zone, they've got to go for it. And Anderson doing it for the Swans. And a bit better celebration. We heard
that was nice,
some enjoyment just then. So she's lifting her side through her actions.
Can that be the spark that gets the desperation back into the Swans? All ahead of them now, Subiaco. Nora Anderson casting the role as the leaper and the crummer. She did both jobs really well. Under some pressure from Ashton Cowie. This is Wellstra. Richie gets the second hand, goes to her knees in the end. Webb chops it off, gets towards Edmund. Edmund's had some energy. Chloe Taylor can't find the handle. Jess Cox is there too. Golisano fighting for her team on the bottom of the pack as usual. Been good today, Tani Golisano. Talked about her off air. She's owned the outsides. Oh, Miller's probably owned the insides. Swanie's trying to get their outside game going. Kenzie Darrick has got a rugby league background. She puts her head down and tries to push through. Little ball will be favoured. Will favour Stribley. Stribley, pretty quick. Cortlett's okay too. So Cortlett, in the end, keeps pressuring Stribley. Does enough. Stribley's kick's okay. Finds Abby Bushby. Abby Bushby is a dangerous ball in. Cowie's enough to pull it into the corridor. Missed going past it without picking that up with Subiaco. You can hear the box next door being a bit frustrated with the paddling from Subiaco's defence. But in the end, they've done enough to tie this ball up. The desperation there from the Lions was good enough for a ball up inside 50.
Strictly so quick.
You don't often hear Lauren Stammers getting heated, or was that Pia Folletti next door?
No, that was Lauren Stammers. I think you're right. Backline coach for Subiaco.
Cox does well beneath the knees there. Off to Hyde. Towards Maguire. She's wrapped up very quickly. Buckley stands up in the tackle opposed to Gelmy, and we'll see another ball up. 3/4 of the players on the field were ahead of this contest. Now they start to reset a little bit, but everyone for Subiaco's up beyond halfway. Bree Hyde onto the loose football. Squeezes a little kick forward. Twin sisters down there. Taken to ground. Umpire said it was all okay. And they dive in on top, and we'll see a ball up. Mickey Hyde just making her case to the umpire.
Yeah, they're next door. No free kick there.
Tossed in the air. Ritchie and Lakay. Good leap from Lakay. Edgley watching it closely. Hyde in there once more. Hyde becomes the tackler. Umpire from behind has decided that that was all okay. We'll see a ball up. Ritchie favoured by this one. Takes clean possession almost. Kick intercepted by Maguire. Can she get around an opponent? She can. And then wobbles a kick goal. Wobbles it well. It starts to swing back, and it's another one. Anderson and Maguire with goals in this third quarter. And Swans are out to a big lead in the context of this game. They lead it now by 3 straight kicks.
She's going back to centre half back here, Jen. So she's kicked that goal inside 50. In fact, she was inside 30 when she took that. She's actually still playing at centre half back.
This is what we've seen her do over the last couple of weeks leading into finals, is float all the way forward, and she becomes really dangerous with her kicking abilities. And again, we've just seen Subiaco trying to get out of their defensive 50, unable to do so. They turn it over in a dangerous position, and Maguire, what we'd like to see, just took the opportunity and finished.
Didn't get the ball to spin in any
No,
one direction.
it was a real floater.
Genuine floater.
Genuine floater, but it worked. It went through the middle, and importantly gives them a lead that we were coming off the back of half-time thinking, well, that might be enough.
Reggie Lindsay said earlier 4 goals might be enough today. They've got 4 now, the Swans. Still trying to work forward here through Lakay. The back feed was excellent to Miller. It came from Richie. Miller looking forward. She gets Rust. Emma Maguire waits down for Rust to spill it. She doesn't. The spread outside is good. Rust's little kick into no man's land's marked nicely by Birchall, who looked pleadingly at the umpire to give that one paid because she lost her feet. Jess Cox stands the mark. Birchall not close enough to score, but she's close enough to put this in a really dangerous position. She tries this, and the mark's nearly taken at the back there. Swans converge on this, kicks it to Buckley. Buckley intercepts, and from the top of the square, she misses. Neat play to swoop on that one. The forward pressure was good. Buckley wasn't able to capitalise on this occasion.
They needed that score, Subiaco.
Just a bit of faith in themselves, isn't it? Game by no means over as Osborne plays on. Pressure comes from Hyder. Kick to the 50s, intercepted and worked hard. That was Jess Ritchie again. Got herself up and going. Buckley tries to get the ball into the corridor, standing over it and tugged without it in the end. Fierce contest. Golisano falls on the ball with Jessica Cox. Now they fight a stalemate. The umpire will get a restart. Inside 50 for Swans. Sorry, inside defensive 50 for Swans. This is Brown. Paddles back to Birchall. Birchall off the ground in danger. Ugle put her hands and her head over the ball. She plays on quickly, looking for Edwards. She finds her, but she goes through her hands, and she actually finds a line in the end. Working a lot harder, the Subiaco forwards now. There was a much more difficult transition for the Swans on this occasion.
It's almost now or never for Subi. The breeze more probably across the ground than straight down the ground in this second half, and it's probably just increased in its intensity as well. The flag's almost pointing slightly upwards on top of the scoreboard. Here goes Miller on a charge. Side steps and then kicks towards full forward. Gets over the back. Buckley was there. Hyder applying the pressure, but Hardy stands up to it well. Gives it off to Henry. Her kick into space will sit up nicely for Steph Kane. Bit of room down the wing for Edgley, one-on-one with Thorogood. Thorogood worked away to the front, got hands to the football, couldn't mark. Edgley fights on well, and we'll see a ball up. Good contest between that pair.
We saw Hayley Miller really lifting through the middle then, didn't we? Just bursting through, using her pace, fending off her opponent, trying to send it forward.
She's at this contest right now, just waiting for the ball to pop out. It does, out the back door to Miller. Opposed now by East. He's got a couple to beat. Miller's too strong though. And then uses that speed again. Kicks towards half forward. Ralph's opponent falls over, which lets her take the mark uncontested. Kicks into the middle. Harkin used the body to get Bushby underneath the footy. Ortlip's there. Nice use. Hits up the target in short in Birchall. Subi short again. Miller. Really starting to have an impact, but they need some reward for her effort. Short kick. Kane was onto that quickly. McLaughlin worried out of it by Webb. Kane comes again. Hand pass to Ugle, who wasn't expecting it. Miller tackles strongly on East. Webb is there. Just overruns the football. Ugle tries to knock it back towards her advantage, and she's happy to be walked over the line by Holly Hyder. And it's 17 points still here for Swans. 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. And time ticking away here for the Lions.
A bit going on next door, Edge.
Dino's umpiring coach, and also special comments and a few chats with Joe Taylor as well.
I think he's educating the Swans box on the far side or after a few free kicks. Never the educator. Claire Ortlip. Little clip just below the eye line there. Goes unwhistled as she gets a ball up, which I think was what her intention was. There, Jen. Outnumbered. Okay. And Richie go at it again, finding this one nicely East. Ortlip's got good field position. Edwards is trying to push past her. It's Naira Anderson and Webb. Webb's search kick's okay. Thorogood holds up Hyde nicely. It's Walker now. She tries to evade Wellstra. Team tackle from Hyde enabled Thorogood to get free and connects further ahead of the game here in McIntosh. Just takes her time to assess her options. Kicks okay. Gets towards Mel Hardy. Takes a neat mark over the back. Might just work Poxidio under the ball perhaps. This ball's over. Oh, Hardy's ball to Webb is beautiful. Webb looks inside. Finds Michaela Hyde. Takes it neatly on her chest. She's recovered from the big knock earlier. I reckon she was a little shaken. More shaken than perhaps we knew as she finds Webb. Webb chops it inside. 1-2. There with Bella Edgley, the long kick in. Subiaco have got the line well covered off it. As Jamie Harkin, as she has done so well for 2 seasons for Subiaco, is able to take the intercept mark on the last line. So just to pop that up towards the square, I reckon to give Welstra a chance. As Megan McLaughlin looks to clear. Bushby gets a hand on this to Cox. Cox is trying to connect back with Gelmy. Gelmy will have to step inside Mackenzie, which she does. That's Darrick, Mackenzie Darrick, that is. Welstra comes at the ball. Did she do enough? No, she's touched it on the ground. In her back now is Maggie McLaughlin. And the players go to work defensively inside 50 for Swan Districts. Subiaco with 4 minutes to play. They've got a run and stun chance here if they can load up the crossbow and go.
Bree Hyde just hanging out the back of that contest. Gets boot to ball. Webb dispossessed. Nicely done by Subiaco. Call it on the way out. Hits up Dodd. Maguire just knocked the ball out of her hands there. I don't think it was intentional, but the umpire said it was all okay in the end anyway. Golisano couldn't quite take the mark, but the rebound off her body suited her nicely. Puts it into space over the top of Amy Hunt. Just needs the ball to sit up for her. Ralph uses that body well. Just opened the path up for Kane. Thought about giving it back to Ralph, did Kane. But then Ralph was more interested in the Shepherd, so Kane went for a run. Kick out in front of Cox. Corlett's worked hard to get across to shut her down. Does she get into her back? No. Little hand pass from Cox goes nowhere. Thrown to ground, Corlett. Now Bushby's tackled. She's thrown to ground as well. We'll see a ball up. It's interesting, Jen. Preliminary final day. So a lot more players turning to the umpire and asking questions of the umpires.
Absolutely.
It's been a feature this afternoon.
Looking for a little help out and a chop out there from the umpies.
Bit of desperation. And it's desperate times for Subiaco. Pretty much say they can't afford to concede another goal here today. They've only kicked 1. And they're finding themselves almost 3 goals down. High tackle here. And a free kick will go the way of Darrick again. But all the options forward of the play have been matched up. Now she'll take on the player of the mark, but she'll be run down. Well done, Michaela Hyde. She was alert, awake to what Mackenzie Darrick wanted to do there. And now Hyde can set up Edgley, although that ball at her shins doesn't help. Edgley eventually collects the footy, tackled high herself. Another kick to Edgley.
Russ did the right thing, just didn't get low enough there as she approached that footy for Edgley. Edgley's long high ball to 50. It will suit a couple of players from Subi in front. They can't secure this ball. Michaela Hyde steps out, gives it to Webb. Webb's one on her right foot. She comes inside. It's good pressure from Subi, and the kick has too much on it again. And Ortlap will lap that up all day long. See what Ortlap can do to load this up towards Maggie McLaughlin. She's a bit hesitant to kick it because Steph Kane and Emily Maguire behind the ball. Carries both of those. Gathered well in this occasion by Hyder. Hyder pops it in the end to Kane. Dodd's good enough to slow her up. Hyder's back in the game. Osborne tries to get the ball towards Maguire. Desperate stuff from Subiaco at half back. In the end, the umpires on this side, it might have been better for Subiaco. It didn't quite connect with that handball as Osborne brings some sanity and some controlled ball. Though Chloe Taylor goes without the ball. It then skips through both Tara Stribley and Sarah Lakay, who've both kept their feet here. Stribley's kick is charged down by Birchall. Good defensive work as a midfielder in the middle of the ground. And Jono Antonio, of course, brother of Ebony and brother-in-law of Cara Antonio. Having a great day today.
Tossed in the air. Just over a minute to go in the third quarter. Swans' defence has been very strong throughout the term. Subiaco's need to hang on right now. Can't afford to concede in the last minute of the quarter. If possible, they need to run the ball to the other end and see if they can sneak a score. This is the way they're going. Richie's quick kick, though, intercepted by Osborne. He's done this for years for Swan Districts. Kicks to Maguire. He's become a very dangerous player yet again here today. Wants to move it on. That thumping right boot. 3 one-on-ones forward of the ball. Thorogood works her way to the front of the contest. Drops the mark, though. Cowie is there. Well tackled. We'll see another ball up. 30 seconds, the call out on the field. Every option's got to be closed here by Subiaco. Wilstra leaps, brings it down. Golisano gets her toe to the ball. Bree Hyde will send it deep. Leading in the race is Edwards. Can she get there on the full? She can't. Ball sits up for her on the bounce, though. She tumbles at goal, and it's going to go all the way, but just breaks to the right at the last moment for a behind. And Swans will lead this by 3 straight kicks with a quarter to play, and a spot in the grand final is almost theirs at the moment. 4-6 plays 1-6 at the final change. Anderson's got 2, Edwards a goal, and also Maguire. Call it the only goal kicker for Subiaco. That was in the first term. And the Lions haven't been able to trouble the scorers in terms of a major since then. So much work to be done here for Subiaco in the last quarter. They need to come up with the goods to produce a big fight back and storm their way into the grand final. Swans by 3 goals at 3-quarter time. Stick with us here on Front Row Screens. Final quarter coming up.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Rule 1. No internet searching.
New Optus Pause puts the Optus Living Network in your hands. It allows you to pause your Optus mobile and home Wi-Fi connections with one touch. Because sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
What can be broken but can't be held?
It starts with yes.
Sometimes it's easy to just go with who you know. So here's what you need to know about Simply Energy. We're proud supporters of WA Footy. You can get 50% off our gas usage charges when you pay on time, and with service that's hard to beat, we make switching simple.
Some important messages being shared down there in the Subiaco huddle. That's 3-quarter time. They trail by 3 goals, 4-6 playing 1-6. Swans have kicked the last 3 goals in the game, and they have 1 foot in the door for next week's grand final. Dave Lindsay, Clint Degebrot and Jenny Wallace, your commentary team, as Pia Folletta with the hands out, imploring her team for a couple of special efforts in the last quarter. And so far, Jen, they just haven't been able to connect down the field, and they look as though they're a bit bereft of options up forward.
Yeah, just a couple of instances again in that third quarter where the little pop over the top hand pass from Hyder that ended up just going into the path of Kane as the opposition, instead of looking forward and hitting up that target of Hunt and letting her mark the ball, let her be strong of body and then surging forward, probably hurt them a couple of instances. They're just not, Hunt's probably not quick enough to win a foot race over Ralph in that instance. So I think a really good quarter to the Swans. They took their opportunities, they put it through the middle, and they've built themselves a lead that they can now defend desperately throughout this fourth quarter. So, Swans, Subi just have to attempt to go forward at all costs.
Swans, that quarter, Degs, just managed to find a couple of good one-on-ones up forward. Nora Anderson, very clever up forward there, kicking a goal. And Emily Maguire, we highlighted her before the game. Her work in defence is always so important. There's the goal for Anderson. But she has, over the last few weeks, become quite dangerous pushing up the field as well.
Yeah, and I said at half-time off there, I don't think the Swans are desperate enough to win each ball. And early in that quarter, a couple of drop chest marks, but then all of a sudden, Swannies just became very desperate and started trying to snatch the ball out and took their shots. And Maguire took her shot, Anderson took her shot, and pretty much the difference in the game so far is that those two ladies just decided to be super competitive at the front end. Particularly clever from Maguire, who'd worked right up from centre half back. And I think it was her Subiaco opponent that initiated that, and then Maguire walked her opponent inside 50 and then turned it back turned it into a goal in the end. Bit of shin and a bit of ankle, 6 points to save. All in front of Subi. Do you throw Mackenzie Derrick forward? Do you throw You throw McLaughlin onto the ball and Derek forward. You need 3 snags. Who can kick them?
Well, that's probably the discussion right now in the box there. You can see on the board, effort was given an A in that quarter, so you can't doubt the effort that they're putting in. It's just a bit of polish at the moment, and it's probably been the thing. We've seen a bit of Subiaco in the second half of the year, Jen, and they don't look as classy as they have in previous years, but the effort's always there, and they've ground some teams down.
Absolutely. Effort, work rate, that's what they've built their season around. And they've had success with it over these past 8 games. So that I would say that Michael Farman's is saying, we've got to believe in it. We've got to play where we rush it forward. I think right now they would love to be able to duplicate Hayley Miller so they can keep her in the middle on the inside owning that, but also have her as a target up forward to try and kick because she's got a long kick. So maybe, Clinton, as you're saying, Dowrick is an option to be able to kick from further out than trying to get it right up next to the goal square to have that opportunity.
And it's the robbing them Peter that pay the Paul.
Isn't it?
She's actually really working well in the box. So that's why I was suggesting perhaps McLaughlin can be that midfield kicker. And get it towards Derek, who can then kick just a little bit further than most people in WAFLW at the moment. And of course, what that means is McLaughlin can kick further, so you set up sort of 40 metres behind the ball. McLaughlin can kick to 45, and then the same thing for Derek. She can get it to 47 to 50. So imagine the defensive team setting up at 40 and her being able to carry.
And now you imagine for Swans having the lead leading into this fourth quarter, that the likes of Maguire and Osborne and Hardy and Henry just so smart defensively, even though there's a couple of young names I've just mentioned there, especially Henry, such that she's a little baby, but plays with such experience and composure that they can back their defence to be there and defend and have a number back. So Subiaco are going to have to work their way through that. I would love to see 2 quick goals kicked for Subiaco, because I love nothing more than a game that comes right down to the nail-biting finish. So selfishly, that's what I'm hoping for to start the quarter.
I reckon you've coached before, Degs, as well, because Derek's gone to full forward, gone straight to the goal square. Hayley Miller in the middle alongside Golisano, and also Call It in the centre square. The ball fisted to the outside straight away. Brown, little fumble. Stribley just sends the hand pass forward. Miller first onto it. Puts it into the path of Golisano, who couldn't handle it. Went behind to get it again. Webb was taken high. And she's played a good game, Bianca Webb. A couple of good one-on-one battles with Hayley Miller. And now has a free kick to put Swans deep into attack. Get the ball rolling for them in this last quarter. Kick in the direction of Anderson. Only multiple goal kicker on the ground so far today. The hands are clean. Tried to sell the dummy around Harkin. Always watches the body pretty closely, Jamie Harkin, and wraps that one up and forces a boundary throw in. But Swans have field position already, and when Subiaco need to kick at least 3, probably 4 goals in this last quarter to win it, they don't have to do it from half back too often. Tara Stribley has run hard all day on that wing again. Lakey in the ruck from behind, palms it towards Cox. Little toe poke from Webb, ball spills out. Ritchie throws it on the boot, and it works well. Brown can't quite take the mark though. Maguire, strong over the football. Gets the hand pass away and then slung out of it. She'll go back and win it again. Over the top to Cox, needs to be quick. Gets it forward to Webb. Well tackled, but gets the hand pass away. Osborne off a step, gets them inside 50. Edwards makes the contest once more. Out the back it goes. Subiaco under a lot of pressure. Thorogood a fumble. Then she gets the ball back. Just pumps it straight down the middle again. Lakey set up nicely and takes a good mark. Puts the hand up and says we'll slow it down. She needs to get it forward. Just off the one step again. Lakey needs to really sink the slipper into it. Soccering it out of fence is Walker. She'll go a second time off the deck. And Pater's dangerous. Well, that's a really tough call. And you could hear the reaction. I think Jen Wallace's right ear's just been blowing off from the Subi coach's box, but Maguire will get the free kick.
I think you see the cheeky little grin from Maguire too. She knew what was going on there. That's 50 as well.
Oh, this is critical.
That's poor from Hideout. Just gave the umpire every opportunity there. It's tough as a coach when things need to go your way and the whistle gets blown against you. It's not the umpires that have put Subi in this position. It's the Swan Districts Footy Club that have managed to get a couple through the middle from well, they've had a lot more forward 50 entries, so what becomes a forward 50 entry becomes a pretty rudimentary, straightforward goal to Maguire, which I've done everything there to keep Subiaco in the game. It's not my intention, of course. It's just I back this young lady's skills, and she does what she should do. She kicks this one through the goals at the ball end, and Swan Districts have kicked out to 5-6-36. It's 1-6-12 for Subiaco, and it's not time to eulogise Subiaco yet. They've been fast finishers in most of the games they've won in 2021. Jen's shaking her head. It's a long way back, it is. But if Subiaco have fought every single game they've played out to the last, without eulogising them, they've been super this year after a very rough start. They've blooded a number of good players. And this game has got a couple of highlights left, you'd suggest, either way.
One of the things, I suppose, as odd as it is to work in Subiaco's favour now, is that it's beyond defending this game, isn't it? So now, regardless of whether you lose by 7 or 2, you've got to move it forward and rush it forward. So it could bring in some exciting football. And as you said, their work rate, they don't give up, Subiaco. Swan's experience, though, have built themselves a very handy lead.
So Claire Ortlip with the footy for Subi, and it is time to roll the dice and just get the ball forward and take a few risks. Dana East, she takes a risk there and takes on the player and shows us a good turn of speed, and it's a superb kick as well. Edwards, not the most stylish of footballers, but highly effective is Edwards and highly rated at Swan. She's played every game this year. That was a good intercept mark by Walker. Gets it onto Harkin, dodges around Wilstra, and then sends it straight up the middle. I reckon we'll see a fair bit of that from Subiaco from now on. I want to go as direct as possible. Buckley's held up, and we'll see a ball up right on the centre line. Swans, we said at three-quarter time, Diggs, they had 1 foot in the grand final. They've got 2 feet in there and just about the whole body in as well.
Jess Ritchie knocks it down towards Buckley. Buckley picks it up and is immediately tackled by Gelmy. In fact, tackle might have started before Buckley had that. And Gelmy just trusted Buckley's skills to be able to secure that one. Ritchie again, ruck pretty much unchanged. Russell's had a little turn in there. Ritchie's been good today and through this year in terms of her effort and intensity. This is Kane, slips, brings Brown into the game, managed to stand up again there. A little tug on the jumper just as she tried to get up. Didn't really hinder her too much, and she works the ball to East. East finds Edgley, who's found some space ahead of the ground. Walker was back filling, expecting them to go through the corridor, which they do now. Webb's long kick in. It's a one-on-one. Welstra, Cowie at the front. Ball gets out to the back to Welstra. She kicks the ball off the ground, and it's curtains for Subiaco's season 2021. Just a bit too much toe on this occasion. The kick was a good one from Webb. It gets over back to Welstra, who Welstra happy to kick it straight into the city side sign. Boraloo end.
And that started through the middle. Webb following up her early work, gets it free because Subiaco aren't running with them in a defensive mindset, trying to push forward and attack. They turn the ball over, and Webb just clever and football smarts. Great kick forward. It tumbles through. Wrong foots the defence. And Welstra sockets it through.
She doesn't try to be careful there. She just gets it in long and deep, puts a ton of pressure on the defenders, which I think is a great way to play this game, and I think that's what Peel was able to do.
I reckon it's their blueprint for next week as well.
I agree.
So it's going to be a tough next 12 or 13 minutes here for Subiaco. They've put in a huge effort here today, but it looks as though they'll fall short. They were beaten by Swans a couple of years ago at this time, and obviously beaten in the grand final last year as well. So a fair bit of redemption was being sought by them today, but unfortunately it hasn't gone their way. Swans have been superb, and Swannies probably look to really run away for this in the last quarter. Good contest here again. Kane with a tackle, holding things up again on Basidio, and ball up. So 30 points the lead for the Black and Whites. Peel Thunder coaching staff were here supporting their reserves team earlier today. I'm not sure if they're allowed to hang around with the restrictions or whether perhaps they're watching the live stream right now, but they'll be doing all their prep now for Swan Districts. Great tackle applied by Corlett. Jen, she's been a player that's really arrived this year in the WAFLW. We've been really impressed with her.
Yeah, joining Subiaco from Geraldton, moving to the city for study, and she's been a good find, showing some good pace, and she's good, accurate kick in front of goal.
She's kicked the only goal today for Subiaco to this point. LeKay this time gets some distance on a kick, but it's been read well in defence by Harkin. And will then switch to the outer side. Walker drops the mark that she normally would have taken. Now she's got a couple to beat. She might be okay here. No, the umpire's going to say holding the ball. Didn't make enough effort to get it out. And, there you go. Bianca Hyde didn't think that was a free kick for her. She hand passed it back to the umpire.
Says a lot, doesn't it? LeKay just then kicking a good 40-metre kick. It shows she's had a couple opportunities inside 50 today.
Yep. No, it's something that frustrates me watching her, because she can kick it a long, long way, and sometimes just off a step she'll poke it 15 metres. She's better off just absolutely going back and nailing it most of the time. She's a better player than that, and that showed it just there. Hardy gets it forward. Ugle, a little fumble, goes back and gets it. She'll be caught by Corlett, and that could be holding the ball as well. No, we'll see a ball up. But Swans have got field position again as Ugle, who's played another good game today here, Degs, hands it back to the umpire.
Multi-skilled, Dave Lindsay. This one Wellstrut jumps up. She rucked last year. She's not afraid to jump up inside forward 50. A strong tackle. No one was going anywhere after picking that one up. Cox and Wilkins. And Boyle will throw it up again inside forward 50. Cox works this back to Brehard. Brehard, quick kick to to Abigail Bushby. Very fortunate. Thorogood's been a very good defender on all the opponents she's played on today. I think Bushby would be her third or fourth. She kept a couple of them quiet, but that kick was just too hard and too flat and virtually undefendable. Not sure it was intended to go straight to Bushby's lap. Abigail Bushby, the left footer, youngster. Guildford Grammar student. She's won a couple of games out there for Guildford Grammar. This one's got a bit shallow. She's also played in the 17s program where she really did light up a couple of games with her speed on the outside. It's a young player from Karratha. It's not just the Aboriginal players that come down and play for Swannies, it's also the non-Aboriginal players as well. To the Bushby family, very famous for their softball efforts.
She came in for Mara Cameron today. She was the out from last week's loss for Swans with an injury to her upper leg.
Very different player to Amara Cameron. This is a good kick to Thorogood, who's able to take this on the chest, but she does provide the speed, the type of speed that Cameron can. Maybe not the hardness yet, and the hardness you saw there with Gelmy just flying into the screen. She handballs to her skipper and fellow back 5 member. It's bounced in the goal square and gone through. Harkin was trying to track that footy. There's a lot of joy on one side of us in the commentary box. It's coming from the Swans as Emily Maguire's got 3. Any one of those last week, they'd be having this week off. She didn't get one, didn't manage one as a forward, but she kicked 3 as a centre half back, and Gelmy and the backs will enjoy that. She's a very important part of the back 5, but it was Gelmy who was able to hand it off to her skipper and fellow back 5 member. Was able to kick a goal from long range. Harkin just couldn't quite get the read on the wobbler, and it bounced true.
You just see the attack on the ball from Gelmy, didn't you? I think it was McIntosh might have been just sort of waiting for the ball to get to her as Subiaco, and Gelmy came forward at it and sort of got it at a higher point, and then able to continue on with that momentum. And a great finish from Maguire. That's outstanding kicking from her, and to get herself 3, as you said, from the back line. Cheeky.
Not too often you get a centre half back that kicks 3 goals, and probably best on ground. What a performance from the skipper. She's going to be critical for them next week as well, playing in a similar role. Peel have such a dangerous forward line, so quite often have to watch their forwards a lot more closely, but she likes to be aggressive and a very offensive player. Nice tackle here by Ralph, something she does very well, and her kick on this occasion is exactly what Edgley was looking for. And they've got some options up forward. Maguire's kicked the goals playing from centre half back, but Edgley's been important. I've seen Anderson, who's been very dangerous up there. Edwards, who's lurking around this football. Provides a good contest all the time. Great work from Miller. Never stops trying. Always looking for a way out of those congested areas and uses the ball well. Finds Hyder, who will then kick down the line. And that kick wasn't her best. Swans will get the free kick. Although Ralph doesn't realise that initially. Runs away from the boundary and then has to go back and get it to take the free kick.
Sort of get the intention of what Hyder's trying to do there, but just didn't quite execute it.
Comes inside to Osborne. And the sting well and truly out of this. Subiaco players would be looking for this 6.5 minutes to disappear very quickly. Swans will be looking just to get through it without any further injuries. No real injuries today. Wilstra copped a knock in the ribs, but she's back out there, so it probably will be as close to full strength as they could expect when they walk into the grand final next week. A free kick to Gelmy, some high contact. Breaking away on the wing is Webb. The kick goes a little shorter than that, and Cox takes the mark. Subiaco have all the options covered at this stage up forward. This kick floating over the top and setting up nicely for Edwards, who gets them inside 50 again. LeKay coming out of the goal square, knocks Harkin over and then follows up to battle a couple of lines for this football. Wilkins gives it away towards Thorogood. He just kicks for distance. Kane is there, soccering off the deck, Wilstra. Hyder getting back into defence, kicks into space, but Swans might get there first, although it sits up for a moment.
Have you seen Lauren Osborne run that fast for a little while? She thought she could join the back 5 in some goals. The Stribbler goes forward, Anderson at the back. Strong at the front was Harkin, paddling the ball towards the boundary line. Bella Edgley approaches from the front, and a little bit of energy that was just built up there has just sort of slipped out a little as this ball is wrestled towards a baller. Now, I just saw it breaking, and I know you're handing you that over, Reggie, but you saw Osborne coming streaming off the half-back line. And she grew a leg with a chance at a snag. She hasn't kicked one of those for a while, you wouldn't think. But trying to join the backline party for the Ducks here in the prelim final. Bastondine Oval for a forward ball spills over the line for another forward 50 stoppage for the Swans.
Hasn't scored this year, Lauren Osborne. I remember her kicking one last year and it was a pretty good celebration. I think it might have been, was it a 100-metre penalty that she was on the end of and kicked a goal?
It does ring a bell, and she managed to smack it through, and then she was happy all the way back to her position, and she let everyone know about it, and of course, much loved player. And at Swans, she's very reliable on the back line as Ortlet. Speaking of reliable, kicks this ball towards Ralph. We should have the pace on Hunt, if she can gather. Hunt arrives to put the pressure on, trying to get the handball out. Osborne appears again. She was going to go long initially, pulled the kick towards Webb. Webb is just touched on the face. Just as she tried to go past, clumsy attempt to tackle. It's a bit of a technique thing, Jen. Hands, when your hands are over with the back of your hand forcing up, you generally go high. You can turn your hands around, you always go lower or under the armpits, which Golsano need to do on that occasion. Meanwhile, forward 50, Stribley pulls this ball in towards the forward 50, towards the goal square, and the pack flies. No one can do anything about that. The defence from Subiaco very strong. Birchall in there, and on the bottom, guess who? Hayley Miller. Never say die, Hayley Miller. She'll be working hard in this one to the very end. Maggie McLaughlin picks up nicely, just looking to clear this ball off hands. Force of Buxidio. She can't quite gather it. Golisano comes in to try to kick through. Good defence from the Swannies. Tumbling the ball in was Webb, but intercepted by Thorogood.
Played a good game in defence, Thorogood. Played every game this year. Another very solid season from her. Subiaco's biggest loss this year was 44 points, so they'd be pretty keen just to hang in here and not suffer their biggest defeat on the final day of the season for them. I'm sure it wouldn't matter too much to them. They would rather have done anything but lose this game. Miller fighting on hard, tries to barge away through a couple of tacklers, and she'll get a free kick. The ball spilled out of her hands and the tackle lingered, so free kick to Hayley Miller. It's been a stalwart of Subiaco. Every opportunity she seems to get to play WAFLW football, she comes back and plays for the Lions, which is always good to see. Nicely done here by Henry. One of a couple of school kids that'll play in a grand final next week. Probably have to go back to school and put the masks on during the week, and then be starring on TV next weekend in a grand final. Thorogood standing up in the tackle against Anderson, who's got her wrapped up this time and will be holding the ball.
Henry to Anderson, you think we're going to hear that for another decade, aren't we?
What a week it'll be. You go back to school, tell all the friends, hey, just turn the TV on or come for a drive
Channel
down to Mandurah
7.
next week.
On Channel 7, if you don't mind.
Not a bad little show and tell, bit of news. I don't know they do that in high school these days, but it's not a bad story to tell everyone.
You just take over the classroom for a bit of record as Webb looks to take this one forward. She connects with Kane, who's worked hard forward of the ball. She gets it on quickly, looking for Welstra at the back, who just jumps and throws one hand in the air. Maguire's worked forward, legitimately perhaps, as a player down in front just received a bit of contact. It's Harkin from the Welstra jump. Ball bouncing around now towards the boundary line. Some tired players losing their feet. McLaughlin picks the footy up and has an agreement with Kane that they'll just stand still. Umpire will restart this one. Sting gone well and truly out of the game. Subiaco's still trying to drive the ball forward. Through Ritchie on this occasion. She misses the ball. Well, it seemed like twice. It was once. So I just looked down at the screen. Mackenzie Darrett can't get it away either. McLaughlin again. Intercepted by Kane, who plays on immediately. Bianca Webb. She can get this around the corner. Meanwhile, there's been a player tackled to the ground after she released it. It's Steph Kane. And it was Maggie McLaughlin. And they'll have a chat about that one at Freo training in a couple of weeks' time. You suggest, at that time, you threw me on the ground in a preliminary final and then I kicked a goal on you.
I feel like in the first half, Steph Kane was getting into really good positions and wasn't getting utilised. In the second half, she's worked even harder again and made sure that she's gotten the ball. I
think Webb stamped her authority in this game too. And the other bonus too is I reckon both the Hydes have found clean ball in the last half. That's really important. Two very, very important players going into next week. The Hyde girls, the Hyde sisters. This kicks long from Kane. It's gone across the face of goals. So there's a couple of players from Swannies, I reckon, that have really found some clean ball today that will really augur well for the grand final next week. How important Michaela and Bree Hyde are to the Swan Districts unit, and add Webb and Kane to that, and their usual suspects from the back five for the Swans, who never play a bad game. It should be an interesting game next week versus Peel.
Yeah, with all due respect to Subiaco, I think this is the grand final that we probably wanted in terms of the contest. Subi and Peel have played a couple of crackers over the past couple of months as well. Here's a chance for Osborne. Can she get her name on the score sheet? Not with a kick like that, it'll go out wide. Bounces away. Hyde goes to ground under some pressure. Little hand pass over the top. Arrives with McLaughlin. And Subi will clear. That's as far as their season will go. Swan Districts are into the grand final. They're all right, the black and whites, and they're in another one. They'll take on Peel Thunder in the decider next week. Comprehensive victory here at their home ground. 38 points, the final margin. A free kick has been paid here, and there's going to be a shot after the siren from Amy Ralph from about 65 metres out, just for a bit of kicks and giggles. And Amy Ralph, she has kicked 3 goals this year when she snuck forward. She's going to have to kick this probably 65 metres on the fly, because Subiaco, as disciplined as always, have got
She's not going to make the distance, Reg.
You don't reckon she's a chance? Let's talk her up. She's got on the drop punt, and she just got it over the player on the mark. I think she took a bit of turf with it as well.
Ralph is a terrific defender. She's fierce of tackle. She's a fierce competitor. Not a noted goal kicker.
No, not at all. But well done to Swans. Commiserations to Subiaco. It's been a gallant effort from them, winning 7 out of 8 in the latter stages of the season to get themselves to the preliminary final. But they'd run out of puff here today, and Swan Districts, as we say, it was a tight first half, but they took their opportunities in the second half. And as often happens in a final, Jen, once you realise, you stay as positive as you can, but once you realise it's a long, long way back, it's pretty hard to maintain that effort, and Swans managed to break the damn wall.
Yeah, Swans came out after half-time and took those opportunities early, gave themselves a lead, and from that point, because Subiaco had to play chase-up footy, more opportunities presented themselves for Swans, and the pleasing thing for them was they started to take them. Last week, that was the thing that was the criticism of their game against Peel. Now they come in flying again, playing the form that they were that got them 14-1 in the regular season. They kicked 5-4 in the second half, and they held Subiaco to just the 1 behind in that second half. So really strong half.
I want to wrap Subiaco up, though. I don't want to talk about too much about Subiaco in this game. I think they deserve to be here. I think they were wonderful. They had a rough start to the season. They blooded a ton of youngsters. Great to see Maddie Dodd get a game. The coaching box is terrific. Pia Folletti, Michael Farmer's done a great job in there with Lauren Stammers. The players now understand what Michael Farmer wants. They've got to secure the same coaching group. They've got to blood a couple of players. They've got Selena Spears in the 2s and a couple of other players that need to come up and play footy in the 1s. Maybe 1 or 2 retirements from that league side, but in the next couple of years, I think Subiaco are rebuilding something really nicely. So I'm really pleased with them. I think they should be really happy tonight after the game. They should be talking about how good they were to get here from the position they were in. New coach, really unsettled off season, a wonderful effort, and they played some really, really good, attractive footy.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think the fact that their back half of the season showed everyone what they were capable of, so it's hard to come from a loss for the end of your season. Ashton Cowie on screen in the middle there, quite emotional player for Subiaco that has suggested she's going to retire from league footy. I think trying to be convinced to hang around and keep her experience in the lower levels, yet to see that come, but an outstanding player. I think 136 it would be league games for her across both the Titans and then for Subiaco. An interesting shot there to see the older of Ashton Cowie, not very old, but in her mid-20s, and then the young youth of Dodd, who's the future for Subiaco, along with a few other players that you've already mentioned. So hard to finish your season on a loss, but they had a great back half of the season, and Swans, well, happy team here.
And you see B Devlin there coming off with in a boot that makes a big difference, and Charlie Thomas didn't give it
injured.
The service.
Abby Darrick out suspended.
So there's plenty to like about Subiaco. We're going to go inside to the Swans huddle, who we really need to talk about now because they're in the grand final.
Yeah, the emotions in a knockout final, they can't be any more stark as you watch the team that's been defeated and eliminated just trudge off the field, a few tears and long faces and slow steps, and then you get across to the winning team who get to jump up and down, Jen, and sing that song as loud as they have all year. And they deserve to be in the grand final. No one deserves just to walk through a prelim, but the season they put together, 14-1, as you mentioned, they only lost to Peel in the second last round, I think it was their only hiccup, and then last week had so many opportunities to steal that game against Peel. So it would have been heartbreaking for them if they hadn't have made the grand final, and I think the work that they did to get themselves to the position they're in during the season is almost enough to deserve a grand final spot. You're still to come out here and win it today, but I think most people as neutrals are happy that they're there.
Oh, absolutely. I think in their regular season they were outstanding, and they've been the team that everyone's been chasing, and they've been the benchmark. Peel have found a little blueprint that works against them, which means that we're set up for a thrilling grand final, and I think that's what we all want from a season. You want the two best teams in there. As we mentioned before, Subiaco thoroughly deserved to be trying to get into that grand final. They just weren't good enough in the second half, and Swans reminded everyone where they've been and where their standards been set for the entire year. So bring on next weekend.
You know where the cameras are too. As they came off the ground there, they looked up and all waved at the camera. Bianca Webb actually said, "Hi, Mum."
Well played.
Jamie Henry. We thought she was looking at stepdad Dean Margetts, but no, she was looking directly into the eyes of the camera.
Well, it is great, isn't it, that we've been able to bring the live stream with no spectators allowed into the ground. So you can imagine all the family and friends were watching at home today. There were a few parties, Dex. You'd heard rumours that a few of the club members from Swannies had gone to places where they could have less than 30 people and do the right thing.
They divvied up the list of watchers into groups of 25 and assigned them a different... No, I just made that up.
It's a good story, though.
Well, they're pretty organised, the Swannies, particularly on and off field from my experience. I reckon Subiaco will be pretty well organised the next couple of days to celebrate their season end as well, and a lot of them will make the trek down to Mandurah to support their mates, if we're allowed to go down there, of course. And then Maguire, superstar today. So Tony Galisano in the highlights reel. I think she played really very well for Subiaco too, but couldn't go past Emma Maguire for best on the ground today.
We've got the two most attacking teams in the competition in the grand final, Jen, which is pleasing to see. Often in football at all levels, that the best defensive teams tend to make it through once it gets to finals time. Now, Swans were the best defensive team all season anyway, but both Swans and Peel kicked exactly 716 points for the year. Last week was torrential rain and horrible conditions, so it wasn't a true sort of indication of what the two teams are able to produce. But I think it's probably a credit to the two clubs themselves who have decided to be as attacking as they can be. We've got the leading goal kicker, of course, coming out of Peel, and they've been so dangerous up forward. They've got so many options up there, and Swans today showed how many options they've got up forward as well. So let's hope we get a nice, aggressive, attacking, positive game of footy next week. Yeah, I would love to see both teams show their attack, because that is what they're known for. As you said, good defence, but let's see the attack. Both going to inside 50 very differently. Swans are showing us more versatility, more options. The fact that Maguire can push up and be such a threat, that's something they've worked on over the last month, and it's starting to come really well for them. Obviously today, 3 goals. Peel, they know they've got their two hard and fast targets up front, and you just keep pumping to them and they'll pay you back. It's an interesting matchup now. Degs, we've seen Peel and Swans a couple of times, and they've had some close ones along the way. Last week, obviously, 5 points to Peel. There was a 1-pointer early in the year that Swans managed to win as well. I think we're going to get a very intriguing battle. I'm not really sure which way to lean. Peel have got that experience of having won a grand final, but there's so many experienced footballers for Swans who have won grand finals back in the WAFLW as well. So we look at the WAFLW as being, well, Peel have won one and Swans haven't, but there's plenty of players out there who've been around for a long time. Won and lost in the midfield, I think, next week. I mean, that's a pretty easy thing to say, but I'm going to back. I think that the Peel backs are excellent. They're very well organised. They attack really well. The Swans backs are also excellent. So I think it's just a matter of how many times we can go inside 50, and I think the team that goes inside the most will be the team that sort of kicks the score they needed to. So I think they'll both trust their backs. They'll try and get their matchups right in the midfield. I think that there's some really dynamic forwards on both sides, but they're just going to capitalise on opportunities that midfield present. Thanks for your efforts throughout the year. It's been a lot of fun. You've gone solo a couple of times. We've had the A-team in a few times as well, but it's been great to have you on board, and I know you've enjoyed it as well. So I'm sure you'll enjoy the grand final next week too. Definitely. And Jen, awesome to have you as part of the team this year as well, calling a few games, the expert at times as well, and tough gig obviously when Subi you've got a pretty close alignment to, and you had to watch them go down today, but you kept a smile on your face and did an awesome job again. No, thanks for having me. It's been brilliant. It's great football that we've seen. I think next week will sum it up for us. And to Matt and the team as well that on Front Row Screens that bring us the WAFLW each and every week. Another fantastic season from the Front Row Screens team. Really appreciate the work that they have done. I know the WA Footy Commission appreciate the work that they do each and every week as well. It's been a fantastic WAFLW season. One more week to go. The grand final will be on Channel 7 next week, and it'll be Swans against Peel, which should be a fantastic matchup. So good luck to both teams. Thank you to everyone for your support throughout the season as well, and we look forward to a big grand final to finish things off next week.
This WAFLW live stream is brought to you by Optus, proud partner of the WAFL and WAFLW. The West Coast Eagles, supporting WA female footballers to follow their dreams. Kia, proud partner of the WAFLW. This is Kia. Simply Energy, supporting WA Footy's talent pathway.